Rondo, you hit the green little button there, just like,
Where are we? Green button?
you'll see if there's a little blue button, you just hit it with the mouse, so that it turns that.
On the mouse.
On the mouse. Where you wearing?
Blue, got it?
Okay, got it,
And
thank you.
then also maybe blow the screen up with it,
So this is the,
little button on the.
Top right. Oh,
you said this one? No,
Let's see.
join it. This,
Recording in progress.
okay, man.
You guys hear it?
Mayor, I believe the host is on mute. I can't hear you. It says that, there we go. Try that.
Can you hear us now? Maybe yours. I think it's. Then mute this one. Okay, we have a motion seconded, first and seconded. And we voted, so we're good on that one.
Seth, can you hear us?
Okay, yes. Okay,
Do we need to vote again?
did you hear the vote, Seth? So we voted to have a meeting on, Monday, the 15th at 9:30. To cover all the other items that we're not gonna do right now. But we are gonna do a lawyer's, attorney's, report, so you're still on for today. Hopefully. Okay, yes.
Here on the new agenda, the item for the emergency repair of the tank isn't on there and the water operator.
It's on C,
Where is it?
C8C.
Oh,
It just
sorry,
got bumped down.
I'm sorry.
The next item is B, decision how to proceed with possible open board of trustees positions.
Where the minutes are?
Sorry?
Can you explain, because I didn't know?
So this is, we have one seat that we had,
Oh, okay.
and,
I make a motion, we appoint Dana in that seat.
second? Second?
Second, sorry, yes.
Okay, on the second discussion?
I don't know what the technical requirements are for us to fulfill that seat, but to me, it seems like a pretty clear path.
I agree.
We could just do it.
And she's shown interest, she's done the work.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, actually, that Karina was mentioned this morning to me, so.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Welcome.
You don't hesitate.
I would actually like, maybe an oath of office right away.
in? I can see them.
Okay, today?
Today.
Oh, now. All right, let's do
Can we take this
it.
time?
Thanks, everybody.
got one.
Yes, hi, Maureen.
Oh, yeah, yeah, so.
Yeah.
I hope that's not the opinion that we carry forward. It's not how I want to do it.
First blue hair trustee,
Actually, that's what Chris said.
I did, that's the perfect part.
Cool, well, thanks everybody for the vote of confidence.
He's very good and give you a binder.
Yeah.
Would you like to swear, affirm, or swear by God?
Affirm?
Okay. So, I, Dana Oglesby, do
I, Dana Oglesby, do
affirm
affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado,
the Constitution of the State of Colorado,
and the laws of the State of Colorado,
and the laws of the State of Colorado,
and will faithfully perform the duties of the office of trustee
and will faithfully perform the duties of the office of trustee
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Awesome, thank you. And then I have to sign this.
Okay. So,
Oh, thank you. And then Adam,
Swear.
I, Adam Kinney,
I, Adam Kinney,
do swear
do swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United
the
States,
Constitution of the State of
the
Colorado,
Constitution of the State of Colorado,
and the laws of the State of Colorado,
and the laws of the State of Colorado,
and will faithfully perform the duties
and will faithfully perform the duties
of the office of trustee
of the office of Mayor Pro Tem,
I'm so sorry, Mayor Roshan Corey, upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Alright, not having some serious.
you want to sign now?
That's changed. Signature.
PR, not now.
so, Kim brought up the fact that we need to get, bank accounts changed, so that's something to put on.
Those are two action items, I just need to remove Allison Ransom and the mayor, or former mayor, and then there's
Okay,
other items to add.
Thank you. And that is, the. You're on it now. Nice.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, it's broken down pretty much. Cool. And I don't know this contract fee too.
Nothing again, these, there for official thing, they don't, it's only work you.
To one side of the tank.
Okay.
We'll go.
Next on the agenda is, fairly important thing that's come up. Dennis, do you wanna talk about this?
Yeah, a little over a week ago, Brent, our water operator in training, had discovered that the valve on the outside of the tank, 2.5 inch pipe had been cracked. I can go into details if you want as to why it happened, but I'd rather focus right now on getting the board to approve the emergency repair with Midco. They will, if you look on the back, they'll give you a description of what the work that they'll perform will be. And, the total amount is, $3,876. And what they're going to do is they're gonna bring a diver out, who will enter the tank, plug a hole from the inside, and then, a plumber, which will be in addition to this cost. And, I think it's right around $600, a little bit more. And he will coordinate removing the pipe and then installing it back in. We're going to supply the parts. And, Brent will be on standby with them. But it's essential that it's done. The old cliche, hanging on by a thread, applies here really well. If this pops, it's a 2.5 inch pipe with 115,000 gallons of water in the tank above it.
I make a motion, we approve the emergency water tank repair. And if appropriate, I would like to put in that motion that we pay that out of our capital fund.
Yes,
Second,
I will second that.
Mondo, discussion, yes.
I just would like to officially extend gratitude to you, and if you could also pass that along to Brent for being on top of that.
Yeah,
I will. Thank you.
all in favor?
Aye.
So question,
You vote?
did you vote?
No, you had a question?
Well, no, this is after,
It's
after,
it's my understanding it's just a ball valve and it's a simple procedure. And it's the company that wants to do the diver to get in there, which is not necessarily necessary. I'm gonna say nay.
so could we have some explanation on why we need to have a diver to close off the opening from inside the tank?
The leak isn't on the inside, it's on the outside, but it's just a ball valve.
When you
So-
take,
Yeah, please
you
explain.
take the valve off, there's nothing to hold the water back.
So I think a diver goes
There's no-
inside
there's
and
no-
caps it.
Yeah.
That's what has to be
So that it
taken
doesn't
off.
spill
That's
out.
what's cracked.
Mhm.
The valves replaced.
You should have a picture in there.
Yeah, I do.
So
Oh, sure.
The bubble.
And this is an emergency, release kind of thing, is that why we have this?
It's right down here.
I'm not exactly sure what purpose that valve serves.
No.
Maybe we should protect that one in case
Yeah, spend
for
money, I don't care.
future damage.
There's no reason why this should have happened. There is right next to it is a outlet where a heat tape could have been wrapped around and plugged in, and this problem would have never happened.
Okay.
It's negligence is what it is.
Did it freeze? Is that why it busted?
Mhm.
Okay.
So my question then, since you already called the vote,
Yeah.
but for the next question is this then, first of all, who is are gonna be our plumber? And then, I also question then, it seems like whether we would have a backup valve, like you say, so it never happens again, we would actually have two valves that if one fails, the other one can be activated?
The best way to handle this in the future is, when we enter winter conditions or prior to, is to wrap the heat tape around, plug it in, and then, just keep it protected either with some insulation or whatever,
And
and it
who's,
shouldn't happen again.
so this was caused by freezing?
Yes,
Whose responsibility would that be?
that would have been our former ORC.
Okay, and we don't have anyone in that position right now?
We're about to.
Okay.
I have a quick question, how did it crack? Was there water actually, there's water coming right up to that?
There's water in that pipe now.
Coming right up
And
to it.
if you look at the concrete, I don't know what the picture is, you can see there's a wet spot there.
Yeah,
I think it's like the spigot on the outside of a house.
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
But a serious one with 110,000 gallons behind it.
yes.
Yeah, approximately 8.3 pounds per gallon, 115,000 gallons. The pressure coming out of a 2.5 inch pipe, and would definitely cause erosion in the property. I don't want to get too dramatic about undermining foundations and stuff like that, but it is pointing right at the pump house.
Let's get it fixed.
So, so the next question is I wanted to ask of, as far as the plumbing installation, is this something that our own public works, can do this repair, or do we need to go with someone else?
We're going with a professional plumber now. Brent, who is in here, has gotten prices from two. There's about a $5 difference between the both of them. And if I remember correctly, it's right around $600. And the larger part of the cost is travel, here. And,
That include materials is,
no, we will be supplying the material. I wouldn't involve Public Works in this because of the liability situation. I would rather have a professional plumber who will have all the equipment on the vehicle and no need to scramble to find a piece or a part that we may find we need. If you look at the proposal from Midco, if there is any sediment in the tank, they agree that they would remove the sediment as well.
They will remove that one?
so would the plumber then, purchase the pipe on behalf of the town, and then we would be billed for that pipe?
I think we're just gonna do the parts ourselves. I'll confirm that with Brent later. I was expecting him here this afternoon. But I'll confirm that with Brent. But I think we're going to do all the parts, and then the plumber's just gonna do the install. But I'll find out for sure.
So, do we want to, approve the plumber? You said you got bids from two plumbers?
Yes, and they were about $5 apart, and I don't have the names of the plumbers with me. But if we would just approve the repair, I think that would be fine. The plumber's costs are under $1,000, so.
Okay, so do we want to put this for our next, for our next meeting on Monday, or do we want to just authorize repair up to $1,000?
I'm asking, I think I'm asking the mayor to be able to sign the proposal now, or the contract now. And, we'll let Brent, and I'll be involved in it myself, once that contract is signed, and inform the plumber and Medco to coordinate together with Brent and get the, repair done ASAP.
And I made the motion to approve the repairs, and I was including plumber, materials, and diver.
I'll second that motion.
Oh,
We already voted.
I'm sorry, we didn't know
We just have to vote.
you voted.
Yeah, we were.
You still take, you still a nay?
No, I'll go yay.
Okay, so we're unanimously, preparing this.
So then I make a motion that we enter into contract with Brett Collier.
Or second,
Second,
discussion.
Yes, I've got some discussion. Has our attorney reviewed the contract?
Seth, have you looked at the service contract from Brett Collier?
No, I did look at the contract with Midco.
This is for a ORC that comes out of Poncha Springs. He's got a lot of experience and insured. And he has a 2.5-page contract that we just received, so maybe.
I can confirm that he has
this is a,
contract, cause I just received it
Okay.
before lunch.
this is a month-to-month contract to be our ORC. It's $300 base per month from $60 per hour for, additional work. He will train our water personnel, Brent Vanderveer, I think that's pronounced his name correctly. And then at some point, Brent will take over when he can get his certification and Mr. Collier will drop off.
Collier?
Yes, COLLYER. I thought I sent you a copy of the contract.
So, our basic rule has been, when entering into contracts, that we ask our attorney to review it. To me, superficially, this looks good. And, you know, I would be in favor of it, but I do think we should, as a good policy, always have our attorney review a contract. My one question that I had here is that if there should be a disagreement, it says pursued through non-binding mediation before litigation through the courts of Chaffey County, and I'm wondering why that's not Saluda County. That was really my only question, other than we have a base rate of 300 per month. And then, and it seems like $60 per hour for when they're actually, working on things, whether it's in town or out of their own office. So I am wondering, we have $300 per month, and we're looking at $60 per hour. How many hours are we looking at per month? Is it 10 hours? Is it 40 hours? So that it's not just 300, that's just, you know, availability basically. So at $60 per hour plus travel, which would be, you know, 120, but how many hours are we looking at in a month?
It all depends on how much work we're willing to do ourselves. What I mean by that is we have 4 remaining violations with the state of Colorado. Not having a water operator now when we've just accumulated another one. So the more, as I said, the more we do ourselves, the less we're gonna ask Brent to do. Now, he has other clients in the area. So if he were to travel to Moffett, for example, and visit us here, he wouldn't charge Moffett $660 an hour and us $60 an hour for his travel time. He would split that with us, with them. And if there was another one, then there would be $20 a piece. I can't answer at this time, and anticipate that it's going to be 10 hours a month or whatever. There will definitely be a little bit more time spent helping us finish off these remaining violations. And that will probably be the most expensive part of it. And after that's gone, then it'll just be, I think, more on an as-need basis. We are already doing sample testing of our own, residual testing of our own, traveling the sample tests to the laboratory. And I think some procedural stuff that we're not aware of dealing with the state of Colorado. And beyond that, I just don't know. It'll probably be troubleshooting if something comes up. Let's say we have a water main break and we need someone to come out, or we have a sample that goes bad, that we take that is bad. We would definitely need a certified ORC then to deal with that particular sample. But
What were the other quotes? We had 2 other quotes from, one was from Chad.
the only other quotes that I saw, let me back up here. When Miguel had first indicated that he was going to leave, I immediately started looking. And I contacted the CRWA, which is the Colorado Rural Water Operators Association, and the Municipal League, and both sent me a list of persons, ORCs that travel. The lists were identical, and it was the top 7 that they had figured. When I went through this list, and it's a little bit of a different ballgame than if you're hiring let's say, for example, labor personnel or someone to fill a position in the town. And that both associations have the qualifications and the certifications of these individuals. I tried to match as close to what we had that I can get, realized that was a mistake, we needed something better. What I looked at on all of their qualifications was how many violations that these operators had. And all of the 7 were clean. None of the 7 had any violations, and I'm looking for their list right now and I can't find it, I'm sorry. But none of these 7 had any violations, so that was a big plus. The few that I did talk to, either an email or phone conversation, the first question they asked me was, does the town have any violations? And I had to say, yes, he did. When I talked to Brett, he asked me the very same question and then immediately started talking about solutions. And I didn't get that from anybody else. So that's what led me to this. As I went through the process of talking with the state, public health, and environment, including from one of our operators that live in town, Brett's name kept coming up. So that led me to him.
So this, to me, this sounds, from what you're saying, what I'm reading, this seems like a good workable choice for us. So my only question and concern is that in the contract, it's just open-ended on how many hours. Now, I understand initially there would be more hours to be able to bring everything into compliance that we need to have done. But it still seems as part of a contract, we should have, even if it's a guesstimate that says we're anticipating,
Or in case.
you know,
there's
10
not-
hours, 20 hours, or if there's things that are going to be significantly higher, something happens, then the board could authorize approval for funds beyond this amount. But I just feel like we should have, because we're dealing with a really tight budget, and we have to be, as we know, really careful about it. And so we have to be able to plug some numbers into this on what it's going to cost us roughly per month.
Well, I have a suggestion.
So I would like
Set
to
a
think
limit.
somewhere in here that we're getting an estimate of how much per month.
Set a limit.
Okay,
So I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think, Harold, I wanna be same thing with her, you know, we should let the lawyer look this contract and just put a limit in the hours, cause open is not good, we commit the same mistake. And we should not do that. And my second question is, we open this to bidding? This just we show up?
No, we advertised in the newspaper for over 2 weeks.
Okay,
And we
so-
had-
So we're doing that part,
Yes, and we had it posted.
okay, that was.
And we did get one other response, but it was a PE. He didn't say where he was from. He was an engineer and he was looking for a salary position. If you want to set a limit per week or per month, you can do that. I'm not sure if that's the right way to go. But if you wanna set a limit and say it's $10 a month, or 10 hours a month, or 10 hours a week,
Seth,
then that's fine. But Brett and Brent, at this point, would not be, either one of them would not be able to set limits on how much we're gonna need.
Seth has something to say.
I just wanted to clarify, I will look through my email again. I did not see an email regarding a contract with Brett Collier. So when I do see that, I will review that. And then that was exactly my comment was, should we have a not to exceed amount per month? In my notes, I put 15 hours per month. Is that something the board would like to have in the contract to start with initially?
I just had 20 for this transition.
So right now, yeah, we're in this transition, we have 5 violations, we might wanna see what it's gonna take to get through the 5 violations prior to, one's gonna get taken care of right now if we hire it, you know?
Well, and that might be something you add to the contract, that we're looking at so many hours or whatever, or certain amount for the first 4 month, and then that amount will be renegotiated. Um, I just,
I just
like,
said,
you don't have to convince me that this person is a really good match for the town, the credentials are great.
Yeah.
I'm just feeling, I just don't like a contract that's just sort of open-ended. I feel like we have to put some limit on it, and we can be generous at this point.
Definitely, I feel the same way, and I would like to, sound like a little, I can't believe that we had those, how many violations? 4?
we had 6.
6. They can have an idea, if they are so well known the job, you know, you say, hey, we need this much time. Cannot be perfect, but can give you a little, it cannot give you an estimate, it sounds a little bit out.
Let me bring you up to speed a little bit more. We have a deadline to get these violations corrected.
Yes.
It's May 15th.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean,
If
he as a
you're-
professional, in any job, I believe we can estimate it. You know, 6 months to 7 months, it should be a little estimated to know, because it will open always, depends how much time they can
Yeah.
take it for forever.
Right.
So,
And I
just
think-
to be more clear with that.
I think after these violations are, taken care of, this is a month-to-month contract, so we can actually easily limit that.
Or you can stop it.
Or stop it.
Yeah.
But we need an ORC. but-
Yes, we need by state regulations, and we always talk about needing a treasurer, an attorney, and
Totally
and a clerk. The other one that we've never really talked about is we need an ORC. And we don't have one. And the state will, as we start accumulating more violations, what's gonna accompany a violation is a fine.
Yeah, no, I just trying just back in, thinking about, you know, we should be more specific on the hours and money, because we time, that's all.
So the other thing that's really nice is that Dennis is willing to put in his own time to.
Yeah, no, I
At least
appreciate all the
until we
stuff.
get through these violations.
I agree all stuff, we need
So-
to move forward, but yeah, definitely we should be careful with the money, that's all.
So what do you feel would be a realistic, if we said for these next 3 months with hours up to so many hours, would you say 40 hours, 30 hours? And then that, and to address the outstanding violations, and then we will look at, setting up, which basically the day-to-day activities, the maintenance activities, the reporting that needs to do, to estimate, how much does that take a month? Is that like 20 hours a month to do that work? And this, we're looking at more because we've got to catch up ASAP on everything. I would just like to have this acknowledged to where it's just not a blank check at this moment. It's not that I don't trust them, it's just good business. And, you know, if we have some idea, and if we say 40 hours for the first 3 months in order to address problems, and then we will reevaluate and get an understanding of how much that maintenance is
We
gonna
can start
cost.
there, sure.
You know,
40,
I'm sorry,
40 hours.
That's $5,000
40,
times 6,
and let's take it below 5.
my bad, 40 times 60 is $2,400.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't think we have to keep it below 5 because we made sure we legally advertise. So we can do whatever we want.
We did.
2,400 sounds reasonable to me.
okay,
So we have, that was discussion, we had a first and second. So,
I guess since I made the motion, I would amend my motion to approve entering into contract with Brett Collier on a month-to-month basis with the added note that it's not to exceed 40 hours per month.
and then what about, having like, the lawyer look over the contract?
Do you want me to add that?
Seth, did you get it? Cause I just sent it to you a minute ago.
I did receive that. I have it open now. I'm gonna make just a few edits, and I do have a comment that a not to exceed clause will be added. of 40 hours per month without prior trustee approval, board of trustee approval.
Month to month as well. It already says
Says
that.
that in there. Does it say that in here?
I saw month to month.
Shall be for 1 calendar year.
Oh. So do you wanna say like for the first 3 months, it's 40 hours, and then after that it's down to 20 hours or 15 hours? That way we're not stuck with that for the whole year.
Does it say in here a full calendar year, Seth?
Section 13.
1 calendar year. Or until an agent of Crestone becomes licensed to operate the water. However, if Crestone still needs its services.
I don't see this going a year.
No, how many months do you think?
I mean, do you wanna create a time limit for the 40 hours so that it's in the contract and so basically not to exceed 40 hours for the first 3 months after that?
We can do that, but I hesitate with it because I don't know what more might be coming our way. Never anticipated that we'd be talking today about a damaged water tank. So I don't know what else might be coming our way.
But I kind of feel like if we then have things that come to our attention that says a damaged water tank, and we're already at the max of 20 hours, then we can make that decision to extend it for that particular month. And we could have that flexibility written into the contract. I just feel like we're gonna be looking at our budget, we're gonna have to be deciding things, and you know, it's just good business to put that in there. But I agree, if we've got things happening, we need to be able to have them here on the spot and remedy them. So.
For 3 months, we can do 40 and then down
Sure.
to 20 or 15, and then we can always extend that.
And I think you'll see it going lower and lower from that point.
Probably.
I do have a question. How, Seth, this is to you, I guess. Do you want me to ask Mr. Collier to revise the contract, put a limit on it, or will you do that, or will you talk with him? The other thing is we need to do is notify the state of Colorado that we are entered into a contract with the ORC.
I do not feel comfortable notifying the state we've entered into a contract. I believe that the contractor will do that once the contract is executed. I've already made 7 notes of some terms that I would like to make some wordsmithing to, some edits to. I would like to make sure that this does contain a tabor clause. So there is some edits that I would like to make to this. If you would like, board, I would like to take this contract, make my edits, and propose those to Mr. Collier for his approval. I think
Okay.
that there are going to be some changes. I can't speak for him, but I am going to try not to do anything that would make a deal breaker, just protection for the town. I don't see anything that is really materially changing the contract, just some of the terms.
So we'll put this on Monday's agenda, let's pass it, so that we can, move forward and then based on the revisions by the lawyer, and then hopefully we'll have it back by Monday, and we can say
That sounds-
hooray.
That sounds good. My other question, Seth, it's item number 10. It says if there was dispute, it would go through the courts of Chaffey County, Colorado, and I'm wondering if that should be Saguache County, Colorado.
I did make a note to section 10. That is one of his terms. I would ask that it would be in the county where the work's taking progress, which would be Saguache County. So I have made that note also.
Can you read the
Trustee.
motion?
I have a motion to enter into contract with Brett Collier on a month-to-month basis with the additional note not to exceed 40 hours per month.
So I would change that to make a motion to enter into contract with Brett Collier based upon the edits by our attorney. I would not say on a month-to-month basis, because here it says for up to a year. But I would say for the first 3 months, not to exceed 40 hours per month.
And 20 after, thereafter.
Yes. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Dennis?
40 hours for the first 3 or 4 months.
3.
Dennis, or trustee?
Yes. Seth,
Yes, sir.
do you have
Trustee.
any problem with me, letting Mr. Collier know that you'll be getting in touch with him?
No, please do so. I do not see an email address. I see a physical address. I don't even see a phone number. Do you have that information also, trustee?
I do,
If you could pass that along, that would be helpful.
I will. Time is of the essence. So if we can get that done real quick, and I know we're talking about next Monday, but I wouldn't wanna go beyond that. The closer we get, then we would need to notify all of the residents that are on the water system that we are operating without a water operator. So it's important that we get this going real quick.
All right, so we'll have it on the agenda for Monday. Hopefully it'll be,
I think we have a
Do we
vote.
have a vote?
oh, vote. All in favor?
Aye. I make a motion, we renew the liquor license for Crystal and Spirit Center.
Second?
Yeah,
Ah,
you guys got it.
Dana.
Dana seconded. Any, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I recuse.
Accused, come.
I make a motion, we pay the outstanding invoice for Potter excavation.
Sorry,
So
what
we,
was the motion?
hang on, before, okay. First,
Yeah, and if y'all want me to quit blazing through these, just let me know.
No, I second the motion.
So what was the motion?
Outstanding.
Oh, this
but it is outstanding, but we did,
This is mine.
yeah, we're
Lying.
gonna have to.
What?
If I remember correctly, we were going to have a discussion with you guys about it, and see how this happened. Do you guys remember when this came up?
No, I don't have any information about
You just
it.
agreed to pay it?
Yeah, I don't know why you're not paid yet.
There was a question about paying it, there seemed to have been a lot of discussion about this and there wasn't really, a way forward.
Because there is no contract, right? Everything is verbally. All these arrangements were made verbally, right?
I think what happened was that, it happened without town approval. So basically, you guys had water put in,
Yeah,
but we were supposed to have like a half and half thing happen, and so,
I mean, we did, before this happened, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt.
no, it's okay, I know what's going on.
I mean, yeah, this has been a while back now. What I remember is we contacted the Potters and the Potters said they would talk to the town. So. And then when they came to do the project, they said that they had come and spoken to the town and were ready to move forward with connecting.
And that's what I said, that everything, this is just verbal, there was nothing writing. There was nothing they bring to you, they say,
That would-
hey, this is the town give the permission to approve and move forward.
No, I mean, that would definitely be a Charles question, but I would assume if there was something in writing, then it would be here, right? So I'm gonna give that probably not.
Okay, so you wanna make a motion, Aaron?
I make a motion, we pay it,
I will second that.
I
discussion,
was seconded by Kim.
and
So
discussion.
we're in discussion.
Is that's far from our policy, and Dennis pointed out earlier that if we approve this, we may get people in the future saying, well, you did that for them, But this is not our policy and we won't do this again. And I think the only reason I made the motion to pay it is because at the time our staff erroneously verbally agreed to pay it, but this is not our policy.
Yeah. And the same thing, she should not vote for this motion.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Okay,
And I think it's important that that be mentioned in the minutes,
yeah,
that this is not our policy, but yeah, our staff had said that they would, and. that's-
Oh, and in my motion, I recommend that we pay this out of our capital fund because we just increased our capital assets by doing this. So this won't come out of our, in my opinion, and my motion will not come out of our operating expenses.
okay, I will second that one.
I think Kim seconded it,
I think Kim already did.
but, more discussion,
No, I think I'm fine.
all in favor?
Aye.
Do I need to say something when I
Just recuse.
recuse?
Abstain.
Let's say, that's cool.
All right, the next item is,
Oh, I'm sorry, moving too quick here for me. Our hours with Brent are, because of the tank, the damage to the tank and the operation that he's doing over there, we're exceeding his minimum hours or maximum hours of 16 a week. And so I'm asking to allow him, as with our accounting and training of the deputy clerk, to extend his hours. I would like to see it to go to 32. I don't think it will go that far. That's full time. I don't think he'll use that much up, but he's definitely gonna go over 16 per week.
So for how long?
This agenda for the next meeting.
We need to do that now.
I'm sorry, can you repeat what?
Yeah.
Brett was
Salary,
hired, Brett was hired at 16 hours a week,
Mhm.
and you don't exceed that.
put it under C.
Yeah, but did you wanna say for 1 week or for how long?
No, no,
It
there's
is
no
sort of,
way,
it is an emergency tank repair.
there's no way we could limit it now at this point. The operation of the system is more important.
Okay, but do you wanna have a clean to do those?
I would like to see him go on to a full time at 32 hours instead of the part time.
So should we just the new item for a different agenda, cause this is a lot to change, right? I mean, I don't know how you guys feeling to go for part-time, cause all the budget you guys talk about it, we cannot have it full-time, so I don't know.
This is Brent with Midco
No,
or
No,
Brent?
this is,
this is,
this is an existing employee.
so right now he's getting paid.
Well, he's only 16 hours per week, so
Right,
he wanna increase it
But he-
to
he is
36.
also, just so you know, he's getting paid, 16 an hour. I believe.
Okay, yeah, no.
Yes,
So,
Well, you guys have more, well, he's more familiar with the budget, so that's my concern, that we go for part-time for 16 hours to 32 hours, so we can handle it. I know we need it.
you think
It's
we
not
can
that,
compromise
that's,
at 24 hours or 25 hours or something like that to?
well,
Because
the
he's going
budget
over.
people would be better to,
I'm gonna recuse myself because Brent's my employee and I need him in my shop, so.
So Dennis, I
Yes.
mean, you're obviously still kind of graciously supervising both of you, you're gonna be. So, I mean, you're seeing that, I mean, he's not taking advantage of his time.
absolutely not.
And-
Absolutely not. And the amount of, as with other staff members, the amount of information that he's trying to pull back together that lacked from the previous ORC is quite a bit. And we haven't even started on the sewer part of this operation. This is just water. So, I can't, and I think Brent's in the other office over there right now. I don't think it's possible to really put a cap on his hours right now. Maybe as things are corrected, we can end up doing that, but, not right now. The other thing is Mateo is on vacation and he and Brent were scheduled to go out and do a meter reading together. So Mateo wouldn't have to do that again. And then Brent would take that over, so we would also have that time, which is my understanding, it doesn't take a great deal of hours to do that, but that's also gonna be included in his duties. as the ORC in training.
I think no matter what, right now, we're short on staff. I mean, and so increasing hours instead of hiring somebody new, although we are still thinking about hiring people new, but we are,
If we not
we have
commit,
less staff than we've had since I've
if
been.
we don't commit any violations to our codes, I'm fine, you know, like, is this is this a new position that should be exposed, you know, open to the public again, I'm not sure. So.
I don't think so. I think it's just an increase in
Okay,
hours.
we should move forward.
Yeah,
I can't give you a number of hours because I don't know the job they're doing there, but I just concerned about the budget, so.
Well, right now, we have Dennis really
Mhm,
observing
yeah.
the situation, which he doesn't want to continue to do this, I think, but he does want to.
And just for the record, you say we have less employees than we've ever had, and that was our intention because
No, I
we're
understand. I
spending
wanna-
$700,000
No, I
on
think it's a good,
Yeah,
staff and salaries and subcontractors a year ago. And now we have, and I think we had 12 people and now we have 5, and we are understaffed. But we're, with these conversations, starting to get beyond our budget. So we're gonna have to balance between
yeah,
getting our staff and us who we need and still staying as close.
I just think that if we have these priorities that are just, I mean, we haven't really set our priorities exactly, but we do have priorities, and the water system is probably almost number one.
I would
We got
say,
1 month,
Huh?
we've got 1 month.
Yeah, it's almost, I mean, and so out of everything that we're, even if we're spending a little extra right now.
is somebody supervising these hours? Would you supervise?
yes. Friday, I had met a face-to-face meeting with, one of the persons from the, public health. Her name is Tyra Gregory. And, she will be here in Crestone on the 3rd of May. And that's to work with us, Brent and Brett, to help us get these violations corrected. She thanked me for being involved and said, and I could put the words in her mouth. She said, but we don't want board members involved anymore, so, and my intention has always been to back myself out. And on that will probably be the day that I do that and just leave it up to them. So they'll have a handle on it.
So what's the pleasure of the board as far as motions? Anyone want to make a motion to increase Brent's hours?
Well, we do.
I would like to make the motion that we increase Brent's hours, was it 40?
You said
32.
32.
30 to 32. And that's the motion.
32 a week, right?
Yes.
Second,
Are we second?
Armando? More
Yeah.
discussion? All in favor?
Recuse.
Accused. And we're getting through it. Okay, schedule a meeting time between board of trustees and DOLA. Friday preferred, is this Friday or just Fridays in general?
Just Fridays.
We did this,
Is the context training or vision or grants or all of the above?
All of the above from what I
Vision.
understand.
was it like a visioning thing like that you had done before?
I think it's to talk about training and like for the new board.
I enjoyed the last
That
one,
was great.
yeah,
And
We need it. I know.
organizing our priorities, what's most important.
But I don't know if this initial meeting is to discuss a visioning retreat or if she wants to actually.
so the nice thing is that Randy's kind of the one that is in charge of these grants, and we really need to connect with her and whether, you know, on what we're visioning for these grants, because we gotta get that set. So no matter what, it's gonna be very,
I just don't know if we're scheduling a 4-hour thing or
all
a check-in or what.
you know,
I don't have further information.
we could just set it for 4 hours.
Are these conversations The whole board, or what's the,
It would be the whole board.
And it would be open to the public because it is a meeting.
And in addition, she'll probably be one of the resources we have for training the board members on ethics and responsibility.
okay,
So, and that's something that we've done 9 or 10 times that he's never done, and now you've never done. So it's something we'll do again, but kind of collectively.
okay. How long has it taken in the past?
Oh, it was all day when
All
we
day.
did it, and we had lunch and all that.
Hours.
Okay. I'm not saying that I wanna do it, but just,
I think I'm gone on the 19th, which is a Friday, so for me it would either be the 26th, the 3rd, or the 10th.
I'm also gonna be gone on the 19th.
Okay.
And I have, I've got something I've organized on the 26th that I don't wanna
Yeah.
end up being late for.
Well, we can't do it on the third, that's we're addressing the current violations on the water tank, that person's gonna come, so we can't do it on the third.
Well, she just said Friday's preferred,
Maybe we can-
but I think we should get more information about what she's thinking this meeting entails, and maybe we could schedule it next Monday.
That works.
Like a good plan.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I make a motion to remove Allison Ransom and Mayor Danforth as signers from First Southwest Bank.
A second,
And Ken, because you're no longer Mayor Pro Tem,
Correct.
also Ken. Second,
a second,
Discussion? All in favor?
I,
Dennis is absent, so.
do we have to make a motion now to add me and you?
I would think
Might as
so.
well, right?
yes.
I make a motion, I don't know, I can make.
That's item
We
L.
need to.
Oh, okay, all right.
It's already on, it's on the agenda, it's on the agenda.
Okay.
So the next item is, living wisdom, this is a touchy one out.
I think we need to have that emotion of who we're gonna appoint to be the signatories.
It's later on in the,
That's on L,
yeah,
Okay,
so we'll get to that.
all right,
So just so you know, we
Okay.
found this sheet, and it's in our book here,
who's we,
planning commission. Sorry, I should state that,
did y'all just have a meeting on
we had a
Monday?
meeting on Monday,
I don't have it in front.
and again, the planning commission is not. You know, the decision making, where's that sheet that, it was in our, it was in our online packet, I saw it.
We talk about but this is living wisdom and the fact that we have Creston Peak.
It's the same.
Yeah,
Is
it's
the
the same
same?
thing.
Oh, okay, cool, because I was like, who's Creston Peak?
Okay, so Creston Peak Community Housing,
So-
State of Wisdom,
We don't, okay.
Crescent Peak is a nonprofit that,
it's gonna. do
excuse me, so. The next item on the agenda was the living wisdom building
H.
permit. It seems like we should,
Do the other,
move that,
I found it.
after, item J.
Okay, that's fine, you wanna, I understand why.
Yeah.
So
It would make sense in the order of things
So we're
that
gonna
need
put-
to happen.
H below J and make I H,
Okay,
and then,
so I would like to, make a motion to, designate, Ariel Blackwell to be the town clerk.
second,
Second,
Under discussion, she's done a really great job. She's proceeding well with her training. She's working, with,
We asked.
Judy Eckford. And, the town has to have a, bylaw, has to have a town clerk, and, I'm reading through the applications that we've got. I think Ariel is very qualified for this position, so I make the motion to approve her and hire her as the town clerk.
I back that one too. I mean, chief, by the motion, but I definitely wanna say thank you, Ariel, for everything you do.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Ariel's helped me a lot in
Yeah.
this process.
Mhm.
I appreciate you
Thank you.
so much.
I'm hoping that,
You want this position? Okay.
I'm hoping that we can find the training as well, like she can continue training, and I don't know if the town.
Oh, yeah, continue training, absolutely.
I'll put on the record that I have been researching scholarships to go to the clerk school. So I would ideally be able to have it paid for in scholarships instead of town money.
Oh, wow.
So I think we should have Dennis here,
Yeah,
but
he's gonna, I'm sure he's gonna wanna participate in it.
He's in the restaurant, he's with Brand.
so then if we have a motion on the table to designate Ariel as our town clerk. She's gonna look for scholarships for additional training. Seconded by Dana, that's the motion, and we're in discussion.
I think we very well. Yeah,
Discussion?
Discussion.
I mean, I feel like in my communications with residents and trustees and Ariel and with Judy and Allison, Ransom, and even Randy, is that training is essential. So I had even thought that we might receive a presentation from somebody like Judy, who might be could be designated as the clerk for 4 or 10 hours a week, but also have their responsibility be to train Ariel. And my concern with that is not lack of faith in you, but concern of burnout and unreasonable expectations that we place on you without you having more experience and training. So I would put that out, but I also would do anything I need to do at this point in time to support them getting what they need.
So, I had a conversation with Judy Eckberg.
Oh, great.
I gave her a call to ask her about this process, and, she said, first of all, that she, would not be interested in taking on the job of clerk for even a limited amount of time.
Okay,
However, she, spoke very highly of Ariel and said that she would really continue to train Ariel. I was very much interested in continuing the training with Ariel. And she also talked to me about, maybe being able to attend one of our town council meetings and talk about that training. She did indicate that, moving forward, we might look at having a contract with her over training, process. But she's not willing to take it on, but she is willing to continue with the training and the availability. And we're being the resource for Ariel, to make sure that everything is done in the proper manner.
Yeah, and I would say that, as clerk, if there's things that are out of your wheelhouse, that you make sure that you get the training that you need and not just try to wing it, that we really, I mean, I don't know if the board has, is able to help you necessarily. We would
So.
try our best, but.
So right now, we're at the point too where the position's been advertised
Right.
for. We've got 2 applicants, Ariel being one of the applicants, and, has been working in the job, has been getting training, is
Yeah.
far better qualified than the other applicant. By law, we have to have a clerk.
Yeah.
And I see no reason to delay,
Yes.
such a decision and to have her continue with the training along with the support from Judy Eckberg and whoever she needs to get the support from.
I think before the name, the designation of clerk comes, the training should come first. And then until there's sufficient training, then we would we would designate.
That's not actually needed, and from the research I've done and talking with Judy, it's like, no, you can have the person be the clerk, and I've seen it in the past when we have hired like Allison as the clerk, when we had, you know, Akia as the clerk, all the way back to what's her name, Bunker as the clerk. They were hired as the clerk, and they were designated as the clerk, and then they went and they did the training. What's important is that person has access to the information they need, and we have that with Judy Eckberg, that she can do this work there. And I also talked with Judy, and it would be almost impossible for us to hire somebody who is already a clerk. She says just not available out of the San Luis Valley, and even places, she's working with a Front Range city right now that has hired her, because in the big city, they could not find anybody who was already certified as a clerk to work. So I think our right action is to have Ariel go from deputy clerk to a clerk. And she works as that legal title, and we know that she has the assistance of Judy Eckberg as it comes to training and any sort of questions that she might have. And that's really the path forward for us. Right now, we're up against the wall. As you say, we have an emergency with plumbing. We have an emergency with having a legal clerk. It needs to be done. Ariel's here. She's qualified. She's doing the training. Let's just proceed and move ahead.
I don't necessarily agree. The title and the position carries a lot of weight,
It does.
and it requires a lot of training and understanding on matters that, because of the title is installed, doesn't automatically inject that into the person. I still say that I believe the training should come first, and then the position after the training has been completed.
You know, that would seem like the logical thing to do, but however, we by law have to have a clerk, and we have gone without a clerk for a good while now, and we have decisions that need to be done statutorily by a clerk. And we're gonna have to just go along with the training, because there is no other option. I understand where you're coming from, Dennis, but I think Ariel is proven to herself to us that she's willing to do the work and take the training.
First,
Yeah.
I mean, effectively, isn't Ariel, even though she doesn't have the title, effectively acting as our clerk anyway?
Her powers are limited right now.
With limited powers, but she's essentially doing the job, and we don't have anyone else doing the job. And I get your point for sure, but I mean, especially with Ariel saying that she's looking for scholarships to support herself in that position, then I think I would have to agree with Kizen, and in the same respect, how we're in these sticky situations with the plumbing, you know, and don't necessarily can't go about it in the most ideal way that we would like, because we don't have the
Yeah.
time.
Yes, I wanna support Christian with that one too. I think Ariel is proven it, how really, I can see my band there, so much different, just that. And I think we do the same thing with Brent, right? Brent's got receiving a training, so these people they're here, we have to trust on them. I think I move forward with her too.
I totally disagree.
I know.
Once that title is given to a person, our municipal code, in the way it's written, opens up a whole different section of responsibility. And I am all for Ariel going to get educated on this stuff, but right now, she doesn't have the experience and the knowledge to be able to do even some of those things that title opens her up to.
And
And
she,
it's going to, in the difference between the water situation and the title of clerk, is the effect that it would have on the community as a whole. So.
How much longer do we have before we are required to have a clerk? I mean, we're probably required.
We are required to have the clerk. We also have Judy Eckberg, who has stated clearly that she's gonna continue with the training and assistance and will help answer any of these questions that is needed. And as I said before, Judy Eckberg, is not available. And she's traveling to the Front Range because even in bigger cities, they can't find somebody who's already a clerk. And we do not have the luxury of time to wait, say, a year for Ariel to go through all of the training. We need to have a clerk right now. And there's a certain amount of trust here that's coming in. I think Ariel's proved herself, and she has proved that she is willing to go to Judy or go to our attorney to get the information that she needs in order to make good decisions. And we've got items coming up on the agenda and things where we have to by law have a clerk. We've got a great applicant. I just say we move forward, and I have asked the mayor to call the vote.
One
last statement, it's not a matter of trust. It's a matter of our deputy clerk having the knowledge to be able, and the experience, to be able to take that position. The last thing I wanna do is set her up for failure.
I agree.
And if it's premature, I could
So-
see problems.
So the role of deputy clerk is actually a bit of a misnomer. Deputy clerk is somebody who works under a clerk. We don't have a clerk. So there really is not a position. A deputy clerk performs when a clerk is absent. It's like an assistant administrator, they work under an administrator. So a deputy clerk has no real title standing if we don't have a clerk already in place. Now, if it would make everybody feel like it's less permanent, we could appoint Ariel to be the interim town clerk. And she could be the interim town clerk and have it be for like 1 year. And when she finishes her clerk's training, she would then be the town clerk. And the only difference with that is we're putting a condition upon it that says she's interim until she gets the actual official clerk's training. But she still is able to then fulfill all the roles required of the clerk.
That to me is just a play on words. It's the responsibility that goes with that title that I'm afraid of.
And we have to have that person, we just have to have that
Can we go
person.
for a vote?
And we have that
We
person.
discuss
Did you
it
have
now,
more you want to say?
and
Yeah, we've had a lot of lack of clarity in the last 4 years about the difference between administrators and managers and clerks and clerk administrators. So I'm not sure exactly what our current policy gives power to a clerk to do, but I'm not ready to put like hiring and firing, and all of that
Yeah,
into the clerk position.
right.
Which I think as a clerk in our personnel policy doesn't have that authority, but a clerk administrator or clerk manager does.
So we could, as part of this, we could, as part of having her be designated as the town clerk, that the board reserves the right for hiring and firing of staff employees. Because we do under our policy, the clerk has that ability at this point. And so we could make it be that the board retains that right until at such a time that it might decide to change it. And you know, and we can have that be if there's a concern, then let's add that to the decision.
Well, I appreciate, you spelling it out, it might be just language, but interim clerk, I think is important. We need to get somebody in there right now while she's training. Nobody knows their job, there's always a learning curve with any job. But I think as interim, and of course the clerk doesn't have the power to hire or fire. That's an administrator's job, okay, via the board. But we don't have an administrator, So mixing interim with administrator is not, that's steak and oranges comparing. No, but I think we should vote today to, as interim clerk for the town of Crestone. And we will further the education, schooling, and one thing or another, and she'll find out, and please, if you get overloaded, tell somebody. If you say, I've had enough, I'm about this far, you need to let us know that you're overwhelmed.
Or even before that.
Or even way before that, yeah. But I think we should move forward and declare her interim.
Do you like to make a motion, Kirsten?
So I will amend my motion to say that I think that we should hire or appoint, Ariel Blackwell to be the interim town clerk. And that the town reserves the right. I mean, I don't know if that's part of the clerk's job anyhow.
It's always been, yeah.
Okay, so I'll make a straightforward motion that that we hire Ariel Blackbird to be the interim town clerk.
Are we second that motion?
Okay. Any more discussion, or are we ready to vote?
Ready to go?
All right, all in favor? Dennis, nay,
Nay,
congratulations.
Thank you.
And
What's your vote out?
I voted aye.
Aye.
yeah,
And then I
thank
think-
you, Ariel, for stepping up, and I know that, at some point, we might wanna look at, pay increase, but, maybe that would be in the next few months.
Yeah, we're looking at employee evaluations, which will also give us an opportunity to evaluate how she's doing as clerk. And then I don't think anybody should be giving any raises without employee evaluation.
So let's wait till that's time.
do we have a form that you fill out for?
Yeah.
We did have a very extensive process that the entire staff and board engaged in every year, but I haven't seen it since Allison and really, Gwen.
Yeah, we used to have one that was a real thorough, several page one.
They used to bring it to us, cause they knew it meant a possible raise.
And I really feel like we need to maybe put it on next week's agenda. But we really have to look at getting an office assistant here into the office. I'd like to see that go on the agenda for the next meeting. We have got to have an assistant. We used to have 3 people and they're doing the job that now one person is doing. And nobody could do an effective job as a town clerk without having an assistant. It's imperative for the well-being function of this town.
Okay.
So let's please put that on the agenda for Monday.
Okay, J is appointing a building inspector. I was told that if we don't appoint somebody, that the board is responsible for the building inspector.
Who told you that?
I think it came from Seth through Karina, I believe. Seth, did you say that to Karina?
I'm not exactly sure I did. I would like to speak on the topic of a building inspector, if that is possible.
Yes, please.
So I've spoken with our clerk in depth about this multiple times. I've spoken with a few trustees also separately. It does get into our clerk's duties, what the clerk is allowed to do and not to do. The clerk will issue a building permit, but that is only after it is reviewed and signed by the building inspector. There may be some confusion or gray area in our code. If I do look at our clerk duties, this is section 2370. The town clerk shall have the right to staff all departments set forth in this chapter, except those officers appointed by the Board of Trustees as set forth in section 2310. Section 2380 lists the departments that the clerk may staff. I'm going to skip the first paragraph, but it lists office aide, Public Work Coordinator, Public Work Assistant, Building Inspector, Water System Manager / Water Operator, Sewer Collections Operator. If I will jump back to section 2310, the following officers and employees shall be appointed by a majority vote of all of the members of the Board of Trustees, at least after each biennial election of the Board of Trustees to serve at the pleasure of the Board of Trustees. 1, Town Clerk. 2, Town Attorney. 3, Town Treasurer / Bookkeeper. 4, Municipal Judge. 5, Code Officer and/or Law Enforcement Officer. 6, Public Work Coordinator. I do think there is a little bit of an issue there as to whether the clerk is to appoint or hire a specific building inspector. I also pull that little bit of information up if I go to the job description of the building inspector. That is in our personnel policy. The very first line of the job description for the building inspector. The building inspector is hired by the Board of Trustees. I was having the conversation with our clerk earlier that with the title of deputy, she is in a gray area. She is looking for some support on how to proceed. And I did basically ask her to defer to our job description and have the Board of Trustees appoint a building inspector. The building inspector is a crucial step for a few things. I think the topic before us is the issuance of a building permit. So if the board would have the opportunity to appoint a building inspector, their job description is listed, and it does have a few required knowledge, skills, and abilities, along with education, training, and experience required.
Do we have that in our book,
It's
the
the
job description?
It's
Municipal code.
yeah.
Okay,
You'd be a
So
little
we're-
bit wider.
It's not, you have to have,
If you would like, I could read that, or we could pull that up with our clerk.
And if the board appoints a building inspector, is that a paid position?
The job description lists that as the building inspector is an on-call, part-time contract position with a flat rate of $15 per hour. The building inspector receives no benefits other than required by law and has an annual review by the town clerk.
We're not really doing. I mean, does that mean that person has to carry insurance?
Contractor.
I would rather either be an employee or volunteer position.
Seth?
The town clerk, how I read their job description and the town code of their job description, says that that position can be filled by existing town employees if they wanted to appoint the individuals who are in, it does say clerk, yes, who are in, I'm sorry, let me pull this back up again.
So you're saying that we could.
I'm saying the
appoint-
board could also make an appointment of an existing town employee to fill that role.
So we could appoint somebody from Public Works or from the board,
I think it could be all of the above. I would caution the board that a board member may have a conflict of interest moving forward, and that may be something that would come up time and time again. I do understand that we are a small municipality, and in some cases that may have to be the case. I just would caution against that with a conflict of interest. I do see that arising fairly often. If I jump back to our town code, the town clerk having been given the power by this section to staff and select personnel for departments created in this article, may use such personnel interchangeably in consideration of their individual capabilities between such departments, as in his opinion is necessary and for the best interest of the town.
It's my opinion and experience that a building inspector has to have some knowledge of a building code. We do not have a building code, but they still need to have some knowledge of a building code. Because someone might be a carpenter or a plumber or an electrician, doesn't necessarily qualify them to be an inspector. So we need to go cautiously here.
I would agree with you. The required knowledge, skills, and abilities for our job description for the building inspector. 1, a high degree of professionalism. 2, and I'm paraphrasing, the ability to establish and maintain working relationships with citizens. 3, the ability to communicate clearly. 4, knowledge of all applicable town ordinances and zoning regulations, and the ability to read and interpret plans, diagrams, blueprints, and specifications. If we do skip down through education, training, and experience required, high school diploma or GED equivalent, 5 years of experience in the construction field, experience in reading blueprints, interpreting relevant building ordinances and or zoning regulations, and the use of related reference materials.
So my opinion is we need to advertise for that position. And hopefully it's just somebody who almost wants to do it as a volunteer job. It's not gonna be, I mean, it's only gonna be $15 an hour, probably 2 hours a month.
Yeah, probably not even that.
That's outdated, we could change the
Yeah.
rate.
I also have a suggestion. There are some architectural and engineering firms that will act as a building inspector. And they are paid not by the community that they work in, but by the person requesting the permit. So it's made part of the permit application. And they're very thorough, educated, and
Do they do
also-
site inspection?
Pardon me?
Do they do site inspection?
If that's what you'd want them to do, you can give them a copy of the municipal code, our zoning districts, they can do the site inspections. For the, make sure that everything is, setbacks are met, our requirements. They will come out to the field and actually do a footer excavation, however much you want them to do. But again, the fees are not just paid by the municipality. It's paid by the person requesting the permit.
Do you have any idea what the cost of those fees are? Or do we have a sense for how much?
No, you have to contact, it would be something that we could research and talk to architects or engineers.
Yeah, cause I'm definitely wary to push that cost off onto builders and also like, while I agree, like we need to make sure that people are building safe homes. We don't have a building code, and so bringing in people who are going to enforce the standards that we're not actually enforcing as a community.
Yeah, that's,
What we do have is
That-
a
but-
dangerous building code,
Well-
making sure that it's not gonna be a dangerous building is number
And
one.
plumbing and electrical are inspected.
yeah, those are inspected, and I think that's one thing I would like to keep our town, be able to access for people to build. It's really expensive to be on the Baca, and that's why the reason I came to town, because the Baca is really not, for somebody like me, I couldn't live in the Baca, no way. And bring people from out of state companies, oh, that's too much for me. I think we're still really small. I think we can handle ourselves here. We can find the right person to do the work.
But the thing that we're kind of coming up against is, commercial. So like when we had this, building project that was over here,
Yeah,
it was declared dangerous and unfinished. We had to go to court.
but that was
So-
part of the
So this was like on a bigger scale. When it
Yes.
comes to single family homes, I don't even think that we would use the building inspector.
Okay,
It's really for, I mean, maybe a site visits and very basic stuff, but
okay,
that's why I think it, it might be overkill to go through, one of these companies, but but for a bigger project,
well, for a
Might work
bigger
out.
project perhaps,
Um,
like a leave wisdom.
we don't wanna, yeah, I mean, we're up against a thing right now where, and this is gonna come up in the next agenda item where, these, this is our little appendix, which is in your binder. These, that's the main thing that right now I'm looking at with this PUD is that they have not paid the fees, we haven't issued, we still haven't issued the building permit, but these application and site visit are the three primary things that have to happen
Yeah,
and haven't happened. Now, I'm not saying that, any of us really wanna hold this project up. I really don't want to.
no,
But if they don't pay the fees, they're holding the project up because there are fees that have to be paid. And, this would be a perfect project where we would say, there's a fee for this particular site visit, for this, to have basically a third party looking over this project and making sure that, it lines up with the
Correct.
town. So that's where I'm coming from.
I
as far
agree
as-
with that one.
Yeah, I would definitely, like, an action to like bring in somebody like an outside resource for a larger project, I would not do things.
We're not restricting
Yeah,
homeowners at all.
thank you.
Okay, so the point was that was made, that Dana made, is really a good point. The town itself does not have building codes, neither does the county. We have plumbing and electrical. And our building inspectors, what they have always done, what their job has been, was to go and look at the land and look at setbacks, make sure that they were within the setback requirements and within the height requirements. Those are the only town restrictions that we have. And so the idea of bringing in somebody who's going to be judging, somebody's building a house, they're building it themselves, and you're holding them to a standard that the town itself does not have as a law, to me is a real problem. We've had numerous people be building inspectors, and that's the main criteria, is whether or not they've got plumbing, electrical, sewage, access, legal sewage, and the setback and height requirements.
What about counting taps and making sure, like, for instance, with this big project, we have a certain.
That they what?
Well, there's a little bit of a disagreement with how many taps they're claiming.
Right,
So,
so those are the sort of things that the building inspector looks at.
Yeah.
And so
that's.
I think, it's like Sam Pace was our building inspector for many years, he got paid $25 per inspection. We've had numerous people who worked as the building inspector here, and we have not required building plans for people's houses. We've never had like an ENAC board where you had to come in and do that. You would say, how far is it from your property line and how high is it going to be? But we never approved people's building plans. So this is not something that the town does, and we've had a lot of owner builders over time that started small and went big. So I think, I don't wanna see this be a backdoor towards putting on regulations on builders that we do not currently have on people. We do not have the UBCs in Crestone, and until such a time as we do, we cannot impose that kind of a burden. And so I think it's very important that we look at somebody who is a building inspector, who can do the things that are actually required by the town to issue a building permit. And I don't even know where this came about, having to be skilled to reading building plans. I think it doesn't hurt at all, but we don't even require the in-depth sort of building plans that they do within, say, the BACA. So let's just tone it down a little bit here to remember what the actual rules are in the town of Crestone. And I also know that we are in a position right now, we have Living Wisdom, who needs to move forward on their project. And this is of an urgency that they move forward on the project. Their PUD was approved by the town. It was engineered design. It's stamped and approved by engineers. The town board approved that. It also has government funding that's involved with this. They have looked very closely at the designs and the building structures because of the kind of situation that they're in of providing housing for seniors. They have been examined and examined and examined by their funders and through their own engineer stamps. And I think we need to recognize the fact that this board approved the PUD. The planning commission approved the changes to their designs. The next phase that we're in is to be able to issue a building permit so they can start it on this project. And I think it's really unfortunate that we start looking at throwing a bunch of obstacles in their path when we have already approved every step along the way. And I think we also need to be really careful on our
We've been
actions.
waiting for a long time.
And,
Are we
So I
talking
think
about
we
a
need
building
to move forward.
inspector, or are we gonna go to the Living Wisdom Project?
The
Because-
town approved the whole
What is it
PUD process. The town
Yes,
approved it.
yes, let's just take a moment here. Benjamin or Mayor had started talking about it and stopped. On September 29th, 2023, the Crestone Peak Community Housing, in reference to the Wisdom Living Center project, had agreed on several items. And the big one for me was the insurance and the performance bond. And they agreed that they would do that. So if we want to proceed with issuing a permit, then I would make a motion that our attorney, upon receiving those documents and approving them, would issue a letter to proceed with the installation of the sanitary sewer and water to their property, and that would be identified as permit number 1. And that's my
after
motion.
tap fees,
Pardon me?
after the tap fees.
No, this is just the installation of the sanitary sewer and water to the property, and
Oh,
that's
just
permit number 1.
Coming up to the property.
When, and into the property. To explain further, the second permit would be issued per unit, and that permit fee would include the tap-on fees as part of the permit cost. And that's where our permit application right now is deficient. It doesn't have any of that information on it. Mostly probably because it was made when everybody was on a well and a septic. And that would be issued by the state or the county. But this is a different situation.
So the permit per unit makes no sense whatsoever because the whole thing is the multi-unit, it's part of the whole PUD. The building contractor is building these as a whole project. It's not per unit, it's a project. It's a plan.
Reference your archives and look at the agreement that they settled with, what they said they would do. This is their agreement.
I'll send it to you.
You have like a meter for each tap, water, like every single.
Exactly. It's
I think that-
identified, it's
There was
identified
a
on the
reason for
drawing.
that, for do that, right?
It's identified on the engineering, and it was agreed upon
Yeah, I
by,
remember that, but what was the reason to do that way, to have control of each person?
if
the
someone,
water,
yes,
something like that, right?
yes.
Yeah, I mean, if they've already agreed to that, then doesn't, I don't know, doesn't seem like we need to fight to change that. If that's what they've agreed.
No, but what you're not aware of, is, I think it was in our February agenda, they had started questioning, in a letter to us, what they had already agreed on in September.
Oh,
Seth, I don't know if you have that September 29th letter.
because
What do you
actually,
Can I see that?
actually,
She's coming,
printing it.
she's going to print it.
actually, Mary Lawrence in her letters is mentioned that part about the living wisdom that we charging something that we agreed before. So if you
Right.
can really hear.
So the PUD, if you look at it, it's pretty vague and.
I remember that we had so many times they come out that we ready to start, never didn't come out with a project or anything, the documents,
We
but.
did a lot of research on the flood paths and everything,
Yes.
that was really good.
Yeah, I remember that part too, yeah.
Is this what you're looking at, Gerard?
Yes,
Yeah, so she says the word, because that's what she's saying here. With this part, I mean, it's not important.
yeah,
But she
It's not-
mentioned about that one too, that's fine.
I don't care about it.
No,
So what are you saying that they said? Well, I feel like we should finish with the
Yeah.
building
So
inspector.
I mean, they are kind of one and the same because. we
They're
really-
completely not one and the same.
Well,
No,
Do
I
we need
agree.
one for
They're
the
not.
okay, so.
other?
we need one for
Do
the-
we need one for the other?
Well, we need a building inspector, and I agree with you that we should advertise for the position.
Okay, so why don't we just, start with that,
I
we
make
have.
a motion, we advertise for the position of building inspector at $22 an hour as an employee, not as a subcontractor.
how many maximum hours?
They'll never need more than,
Okay. And this be only for big projects, not for,
on this future residential as well, because we're required to look at setbacks.
Setbacks.
well, for the setbacks,
Yeah.
that's it,
Yeah.
okay.
I
Just to
also-
be really clear, because that's one really,
I think
Yeah,
it should be
yeah.
upon the building inspector to
Yeah.
look at zoning and the code
Right.
and allowed uses and all of
sure,
that.
but
Size.
definitely town
But no,
always
no,
be
we-
friendly, and again, that's why I'll be able to live here, because.
Right. I agree, we have a 300 square foot rule.
Okay.
We don't?
I haven't seen that.
We had them.
We used to have
One until 2015.
for 400 square feet, so sorry.
When they recodified it, so now there's no limit.
Fantastic. So I have a motion.
We have a second.
Can I have clarity on the motion? I just want to make sure it's a motion to advertise for a building inspector at $22 an hour.
Correct.
Like I do.
As an employee, not as a subcontractor.
I'm confused by what.
Second, anybody?
I second that,
Oh, Armando, beat you to it.
sure.
Discussion.
Yes. To hire an outside contractor versus an employee, you would give them, the board would give him, or the clerk's office would give them what we want them to review. It's not gonna be carte blanche over the entire community. In this specific project, there's gonna be ADA requirements, and I'm sure they're gonna be held to by DOLA and whatever other financing that they're getting from. And that is where you'll have a benefit from having an architectural or an engineering firm to make sure that those ADA requirements are met. The other alternative, and again, we don't, if someone comes in for a single family home, if you don't want that architectural or engineering firm to review that drawing, you don't have to give it to them. You just don't direct them to do that. But in commercial, or if we ever got into industrial or manufacturing, I think it would be very wise to have that expertise, look at those types of buildings and those projects.
So I guess my question would be, is there a way that we can have it, so like on bigger projects, it's set that we would have hire a consulting firm, and on smaller projects, we would just have somebody on call?
Why would we wanna take on the expense of another employee?
Well,
If how many building permits do we issue in a year? You know, there are communities that issue 300-400 building permits in a year, they have a very large staff of building inspectors and.
Yeah, but I don't wanna wait for
But we
somebody
don't-
coming from the city to expand my building when I can have somebody local to do it. So I think good for big projects, definitely we should be sure that all those things safe, cause I'm a firefighter and that's part, everything has to be done well, a building, right? So prevent, things happen, but, I think we don't have to hire right now that one. We
Well,
don't
one
have-
thing we were thinking was having, remember we had discussed maybe having Mateo take on just the smaller projects
He
as,
told me he doesn't wanna do it.
oh,
We were gonna change that in his job description, he said he didn't want any part of it.
oh.
And in the past, we have had like the code enforcement.
Yeah, that's
officer.
what we were,
Okay, so I removed my motion. What I'm getting at is that what we need a building inspector for is setbacks and heights. So I don't see that as engineering company anywhere else, even here. But maybe it should be a subcontractor and maybe it should just be per job.
Yeah.
Like it used to be.
Yeah.
And part of the reason I wouldn't want Mateo is because if we have, we're putting, and maybe also part of the reason I wouldn't want a staff member to do it is because then we're putting a lot of power into our staff to be able to make sometimes political and community decisions. So yeah, having some random person, which I would consider, I can name 5 possible people in the community right now, they don't even have to be town residents, to come in and look at setbacks and allowed uses, and that's a really simple thing, and it could be per permit.
just up to our, you know, we have things like, the amount of
Square footage
footage
you
you
can
can
have
have
on
on-
a lot, right, or in a case
And
that
don't-
could have avoided what happened with me
Conditional
is,
uses.
yeah, are you allowed to even do that?
Right,
So that
conditional
person does have to be able to read code
right,
or zoning code and all of that.
understood.
So,
And
In this-
and that's what we've always had with somebody for years, that we just was on an on-call as needed basis.
so I make a
And
motion,
there's the checklist. of
we
things.
advertise for a contract position,
50
Um,
hours.
I don't even think we need to name the price right now.
Mhm.
Okay,
And I think too, for, because to expedite this, I think we all know various builders within the community. It would be good for us to reach out and say, is this something you would be taking on and either so much per site visit or, you know, usually was issuing a building permit and then when somebody broke ground, they would come out for a second visit. And, we could either do it per hour or per permit. It keeps it really simple and we have the strict criteria of what it is that's being asked to be inspected. I think that's the best way to go. Leave it
second,
in
you
the person.
want a second?
Yeah, I will second that one.
So, more discussion, or we?
So I would.
I'd like to hear the motion again, I'm not
I
really.
make a motion that we advertise to hire a contract building inspector to on a per permit basis to inspect setbacks and,
Basically, what
Zoning code.
we do have in our
Like a site plan review?
site plan review.
So in that, if we felt like we needed to have a larger architectural company
And
do
this-
specific things, then
Yeah.
we could reach out to them instead.
yes,
But
and
for
in
all
this,
the simple stuff, we can have our
How would
local
we,
handle it.
how do we distinguish between that? I mean, is it only on commercial? I mean, because right now we have a.
And I would like to see as part of this that, it be posted, not just advertised, but also posted around town, posted on the town website and Facebook page. You could request O'Neill to post it on their help wanted page. And I think it would be great if we had some applicants for next Monday's meeting, so we can move this along. We have some good people who's willing to show up, I think. You know, we probably all know various people in the building trades who might be interested in taking. this.
Preferably somebody from the block, but because.
I've definitely got some ideas.
I was thinking the same.
And did you have a price that you were saying?
I think it's negotiable,
Yeah.
and I think we can change our permit fees if we need to.
Yes, I think that would be a good idea.
So what with the motion, because I think you got a motion.
I make a motion that we advertise for a contract
And post.
and post for a contract building inspector on a per permit basis.
Second.
All right, any more discussion?
I'm fine.
All in favor?
I,
Aye. Dennis, nay?
Nay.
Okay.
And then I'm told by the attorney that in the, if we're now we're moving on to the back to living wisdom, that if we don't have a building inspector, that responsibility falls on our clerk. Is that accurate, Seth, or not?
I actually think that the town board should appoint a building inspector. It is
No,
very specific to this project
I'm saying to
because
issue,
when we have a PUD, there are additional responsibilities that the building inspector does have to take into context. If we go to section 15.9.170, the building inspector shall approve and sign the building permit application, and the clerk, two separate people, upon receiving the signed building permit application, shall issue a building permit for buildings and structures in the area covered by the approved final development plan if the time limit established, so the inspector has to look at the time limit, by the tentative development schedule has not passed. They also have to look if the plan has been recorded. They have to look if the buildings and structures are in conformity with the approved final development plan and with all other applicable ordinances and regulations. The requirements of the approved final development plan and other applicable ordinances and regulations.
so
When
that's
we go to
clearly not
C,
the skill set of a contract building inspector that we're talking about. We allocated
Yes.
$7,100 in our budget for living wisdom. And I put that in there for the sole purpose of if we need to consult with an expert. So consulting with our town engineer or another engineer to oversee some of this sounds incredibly valuable. I don't know that that plays into the issuance of the building permit.
so I think
agree.
that the issuance of a building permit depends on having a building inspector. I think that our town code has some gray area in it. If you look at the job description, it says that that position is appointed by the town board.
Right, and you told me once, if we don't have a building inspector, that the responsibility of issuing a permit falls on the clerk. Do you still stand by?
Did say that the clerk's responsibilities, when I jump back to the duties in our personnel policy for the clerk, say that they can staff those departments unless they have been delegated to the the board. I do think that there's a little gray area there. Once again, where it says the clerk can staff the following departments, which includes a building inspector. So yes, I think the clerk can do that. However,
Question. I'm asking the question, is that one time you told me if we don't have a building inspector, that the responsibility of issuing a building permit falls upon the next higher authority, which is the clerk.
if I said that I was mistaken, I do not think that is the case. There are two separate people. The
So we
building
have
inspector receives the application first and has
Uh-huh.
responsibilities before he can sign it and then submit it to the clerk. They should be two separate people. I'm sorry if that's was not what I said the first time. I am trying to get us to where we can hire a building inspector. And I have to admit, there are two places in our code. One, it seems like the clerk has the duty to make that appointment. And in another place, it says that the town board will make that appointment.
Yeah, and I hope we put in our motion that we're not giving hiring and firing authority to our new clerk right now.
Although that's clearly what it says the clerk has the ability to do in our town code.
If no needs corrected.
Yes, Dennis.
Seth, there's a permit application in our agenda now for the Wisdom Living Center. And my take on this whole thing is it's premature. There's been no readiness to the site. There is no water and sewer there. I don't know how we can issue a permit for a home that without those utilities. The performance bond and the certificate and the insurance requirements go along with the extension of the sanitary sewer and water. And it's my opinion that before a building permit for a home or a multifamily unit or anything is done first, there has to be water and sewer to the site.
It's never been. And maybe we've done it wrong for the last, I don't know, how many years, 100. I mean, I got a building permit for a shop up there and it has no water and sewer.
But you have water and sewer to your home.
It's actually, we are not required, a home is not required to have water and sewer. People are required to have legal sanitation. They're not required to have water.
And that, I'll be honest with you, that's part of my fear, is that they may decide somewhere along the line that the extension of the water and sewer is too expensive for the
They
project.
can't change the project.
And then we'll be looking at wells and septic systems.
That's not part of the PUD. It's not
Then
part.
why
of the
would we
PUD.
not ask them to first run the water and sewer?
So, as part of their whole stamped, engineered, approved, government funded, and board approved PUD was that they were going to have the water and the sewer. There's no option for having wells and septic systems in the town, and they would have to come to the town for a well permit anyways. They can't.
Then I go back to my question, and excuse me for speaking loud because I'm hard of hearing, so I naturally talk louder. Well, why would we not require them to run the water and sewer first? Why are we issuing a building permit for a piece of property that we know is gonna need water and sewer?
Because they have.
There are
their-
two separate application processes. One was for the PUD and then one will be for a tap for water and sewer. I believe is how our code is designed.
You haven't seen that yet.
Right.
don't-
We have not seen the application for water and sewer as far as I know.
We
It says it will
already-
be provided. There's this one, are you looking for this?
Yeah, I've got that somewhere to look for. We already approved the PUD, which is the whole scope of a large project. And even when you're looking at here, you know, there's no, they're talking about building water taps. There's never been a discussion that they're going to put in their own well or their own septic. As part of their PUD is that they're hooking up into the town water and sewer. And that's what we approved. So that would be a major change to the PUD, and that's not.
On the PUD, it doesn't state anything about how
It's-
many taps, it says on here.
But all of the plans that were engineered and approved show the water and sewer going to
They do.
all of the building, it's
Yeah.
part of the plans.
So, but my point is like, if we have 20, I think there's 22 units, 22 taps. And they're showing us that they're trying to tap into our system for 22 separate individual taps. We're gonna be billing each individual 22 separate bills.
Mhm.
How do we start that process to say, okay, there has to be some kind of, initiation that says, we want these taps, we wanna have accounts for each one of these people. Here's the money for the taps. So can we start working on that? I mean, it only makes sense. I mean, when somebody buys a piece of land, they either have a tap fee or they don't have a tap fee. If they don't have a tap fee, they can't tap yet. They can't even start their project because
Right.
they need to
But
get the
a
tap fee.
building permit allows a person to begin construction. And so we have not tied building a home or a structure to having a tap fee. That's never been tied together.
If,
I hauled water at my house for 5 years. It's not
but
required.
you didn't have an option to tap. You didn't have the option up there to tap. So
Not
in
at
this
the
case,
time,
we're giving them
but
an option to tap.
part of their plan is to tap in. And we approved the PUD that shows that they're going to tap in. And this, part of this thing is they had made a request, to pay only the actual cost instead of what we charge. They withdrew that request. There's nothing in this note that says that they're like not going to tap into the town. This is like wild speculation. The PUD spells out and we approved what that they
But
would
it
do.
says here, even after the final development plan, building permit and certificate of occupancy, so building permit. The building inspector shall approve and sign the building permit application, and the clerk, upon receiving the signed building permit application, shall issue a building permit for buildings and structures in the area covered by the approved final development plan, if the time limit established, so we never got the time limit, by the tentative development schedule has not passed. The plan has been recorded, and the buildings and structures are in conformity with the approved final development plan and with all applicable ordinances and regulations.
I think we have all that.
I don't think we do.
We don't have.
That is a question for our building inspector. And we need to hire someone specifically for this case to make that decision and that determination. It is different because this is a PUD. It is not a single family residence. This is a PUD. It does have that regulation that the mayor just read. That would be my guidance.
Mayor,
Yes,
shortly after my appointment in August, I received a phone call from Akia, is that her name?
thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, and she told me, or asked, if they would be able to pay for all the building permits in bulk, or were they gonna have to pay for them one at a time? And where she was referring to were the structures. Each having their own building permit. That was back, I believe, in August when I talked to her. And that's exactly how I see it as well. The extension of the water main is not a tap. It's an extension of the water main and the sanitary sewer. The tap is the physical puncturing of the water main or the sewer to connect the individual water lines. When those building permits for each and every unit, either all at once or one at a time, is issued, is in my mind, when the tap-on fees should be paid. If they're willing to pay them all up front, that's fine too. But that's to me, that's the difference.
I assume, from what I know, that they're looking to pay for the tap fees, right? Up front. You know, when they have the building permit, they go to do construction. And we could call for clarification that they are prepared to go ahead and pay for the tap fees upon issuance of the building permit. That's my understanding. And
I
so,
wouldn't pay my tap fee without a
without a building
building
permit.
permit.
It comes together.
No,
Yes,
I would not give you guys $70,000 and then a week later be trusting that you will give me a building
oh,
permit.
no,
Nor would I dig a
No, no.
single trench on my land without a building permit.
that, no one's saying that. That's not what I'm saying. When a permit
Fees,
for the
Fees are
structure,
building permit fees.
they could be tap fees as well.
Could be. What does that mean?
No, I mean, a fee is a fee, it's a tap fee. There's a tap fee that has to be paid in order to.
There's nowhere in our entire policy, show me where it says a tap fee has to be
Well-
paid before a building permit can be issued.
What is the thing that you're trying to prevent? What you think is going to happen?
Yes.
that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if they're requesting a permit for the structure, they would also request a permit to pay the tap-on fees at the same time. Not before, not after, at the same time.
Okay,
If they wanted to buy all the permits for all the structures in bulk, then they would also pay all the tap on fees along with them,
Okay,
with
so,
those fees.
and maybe that means you're saying, which I don't think it is what you're saying, that if they pay the tap fees, you would support issuing a building permit. But number two is, what the attorney is saying is that we have to have a building inspector approve this process.
Yeah,
And so I'm gonna say, or ask, who's talking to that building inspector? And if it's Dennis, okay, then he's gonna, you know, is he gonna do what Dennis says, or is it our attorney, or is it our mayor? And who's gonna direct that building inspector on
No
what?
one board
Yeah,
member can
no
speak
one-
for the board.
No one would direct them, they would be looking at the approved plan that went through plan commission and the engineering that we have in the office. There would be no need for any of us to talk to them.
So if that building inspector sits down, he doesn't even need to look at the plans. He or she needs to know that those plans were approved by the planning commission and by the board. Easy.
He would not have to talk to us at all, he would use our municipal code and the engineering drawings and the PUD to make all those determinations, he wouldn't go to me or you or anybody else.
That's the other thing too, is there again, like I said, this is being made more complicated than it needs to be done. When the building permits aren't issued, that starts the process. It's the start of the process. And even things like a tap fee is paid when a house is ready to tap into the water line. So we can issue a building permit for a residence up here. And it could be 3 years before they decide to tap into the water line. You know, they have a legal outhouse, they can legally live in their house and haul their water, even if they're right next to a water line. There's nothing that says that you can't haul your water to your house if you want to. So what I'm saying as part of the process is the tap fees are paid when a person is going to hook up into the water line. So the building permit is issued, they are able to then take that and able to do their next steps that they need to do. And then when they're looking to wanting to, you know, the building permit gets approved. Building permit has to be approved before any kind of tap fees are collected. Adam makes a good point, nobody's gonna pay a tap fee if the building permit's not been approved. Get your building permit, you're approved to start construction, and heck, they can put their lines in, and when they're going to wanna hook into the town water system, the tap fees are paid. I would imagine that once they get their building permit approved and they're gonna start construction, they will pay the tap fees and we'll move forward on this. But a building permit is not contingent upon getting a tap fee. That's not what our rules say.
Back again to my original statement, we're already approving or getting prepared to issue building permits, and we still don't have any insurance or performance bonds to protect the community. And that should start when the work in the right of way begins, but they should be in before the.
So then, according to this here, as it says, that CPCH will require both performance and payment bonds from its builder. Okay, so this is where we can go to them and say, have you gotten the performance bonds from your builder?
Totally. I don't care what they do with their contractors. I'm talking about the town. I'm talking about the town being protected liability wise. I'm talking about the town having a performance bond from the developer that if they decide, or somehow it happens, whatever reason, that they can't continue on with the project. That's what I'm talking about,
We
not their
approved,
contractor.
okay, we approved the PUD and the terms that were required within our subdivision regulations that we had, our PUD regulations, our plan unit development. We approved what was presented and what our requirements are. We approved it. If the request for the performance bond here, it says that they are working with their builder and the builder will provide that with the town named in here. This is what we agreed to. It says that with the town vendors, whatever, that the town will be listed as an additional insured. That's what they have. This is what we agreed to. We can't now change the terms of the agreement.
I'm not asking to change it. I wanna see the agreement. I wanna see it.
Then-
I wanna see the actual writing that said we are indemnified from anything. And
And
I have not seen that.
okay,
The board
and
has
I
not seen
think that that's a reasonable request. I think they say they're gonna provide that, and if that's what we feel like our building inspector finds like, okay, this is something that we need to see, then I think the building inspector should go ahead and ask for that. But we're putting the board into a position that we have to be really careful because we already approved the project. If we say here we wanna see the bonds, then that's part of, then let's see the bonds. I agree with you.
And I wanna see it before the permit is issued. I don't think that's unreasonable.
So let's see those bonds. I mean, I agree with you. They say here they're gonna have it between them and their contractor. And let's see where that is. They're wanting to break ground. I'm sure they wanna see that performance bond if they're getting ready to break ground.
I spoke to IKEA about 2 weeks ago, and she said there will not be a bond or insurance before the building permit is issued.
So that the building permit has to happen first before the contractors will issue.
Talk to Cersei too.
And did you give the reason why? What was the reason?
She said that that's not how things are done.
So nobody
And when I
told you-
spoke to the bonding company, they said that they needed a building permit
Okay.
first.
Well, and that makes an awful lot of sense, that it's just like,
Yeah,
you know, that makes a lot of sense, that unless the contractor knows that this project's been approved, they're not gonna issue a performance bond. Once the building permit's been
But the
approved.
project
then they'll
has
issue
been
the bond.
approved. It's under a PUD. The final engineering has been submitted and agreed upon. So the project is a go. It's not us holding this project up. It's the unwillingness to get, Seth, am I wrong thinking that the town should have some liability before a permit is issued?
Well, I do
So
not
we
want the
should-
town to have a liability.
Pardon me?
I do not want the town to have a liability.
I don't either.
I am trying to figure out, and I believe that it is actually the purview of our building inspector, and the building inspector can look at this also and see if that is a regulation that was part of the PUD approval.
I don't
I think
know
that
if,
it is. That's my 2 cents. I am not the building inspector.
I don't know if those legalities are part of the PUD or the plan commission's responsibility. I think that is, in my mind, just common sense that the town should have the proper insurance from the developer and also the performance bond that would guarantee that if the project were to go sour for whatever reason, that there would be enough funds to either clean up or finish the project. I think that's very reasonable. And I don't think that's the building inspector's responsibility. I think it's the board's responsibility.
And I do believe that that may have been addressed more clearly in the PUD application, but that is not the process we're at now. That's not the step we're at now.
So what
Regretfully.
happens if we start doing work on town property? And something happens on town property,
what property in town?
well, they're gonna be extending the line to get both the sewer and the water to get to the property line.
They're gonna be digging in the city right away.
Well, yes, but I think we.
We still do not have an application for water or sewer tap, though. That is a separate process.
Okay.
Do we have an application for that? I don't remember, even seeing an application for water and sewer tap.
So Seth, here's something I would like to see you get clarity for us on. This, the Living Wisdom says that they will get performance bonds from their worker, from their company that they're hiring. And the town will be named, in that as a beneficiary, or we would be named, and that and it would be included, the warranties would be covered and et cetera during the bond. So the company who is what, Elcom, but anyways, their company says they will not take out a bond until the project gets a building permit. So to me, this makes a lot of sense. If I was a contractor, I wouldn't take out $1 million bond on something unless I knew that the project had a building permit and was okayed to proceed. Is that?
That may be their case. I can contact Alcon and ask that. I have also seen Alcon or a similar contractor. They don't bond individual projects. They may have a $20 million bond for their annual construction and development. The addition of a single project or two probably doesn't affect their bond status.
So
They're
this
looking for
seems,
a
so
bond.
this is like a real sticking point for us, and this is where we really need clarity. So if this
Are we
company,
asking for bonding on the installation of the water and sewer lines or on the construction of the houses on private property?
it says here that they will require both performance and payment bonds from its builder. And the town will be listed as an additional insured on the bonds, assuring that Living Wisdom Village will be completed and that all vendors and workers are paid. The contract between CPCH and Elcon includes the warranties that would be covered by a maintenance bond, the curing of defects of workmanship discovered after construction has been completed. And, so that is what they say, that they have, CPH has, performance bonds with the builder. And it sounds like to cover all aspects of the construction that the outcomes do.
Who's first? Sorry, I'm reading it.
I was waiting.
Okay.
I think we wasting too much time, so I think easy, we can do the permit and say, before you breaking ground, you have to bring these bonds. And do it faster.
Well, I was thinking, we could do it maybe with an affidavit. Like an affidavit.
Any way that we can access to them, I think they are the best, they want to do this better, so they can, we have to work with them. And we're just wasting hours here, and I would like to take a decision how we can help them and protect ourselves too. Because I'm not getting.
This is not a waste.
No,
This time now is not a waste.
It is because we.
No, it's
talking
not a waste.
Over and over the same thing, that's
This
what I
time,
wanted to say.
this discussion now is
We
not a
discuss the
waste
same
of
thing
time.
Over and over, no, I understand it, but we repeat it again and again, that's all.
So I agree, and I would say if they were willing to sign a real affidavit stating that all of this stuff would be lined out as soon as we issue a building permit.
Yeah.
That would be something I'd be willing to do, because then we have an affidavit backing us up, if we have to go to court or something like that.
Mayor, as Seth had said, they carry a bond yearly or however they arrange it with their bonding agent. They already have that. They don't need the permit to be issued because they already have that.
But he said they have it for the company,
So-
not for even for single project they do, so they have it for the company.
That's right. To all the projects that they build.
So why wouldn't we have?
Why wouldn't we have it?
No, for the company and see, not for each project they do, so for the company, like a taxi company, have 1 million insurance each taxi. Because that's what require the city of Georgia, $1 million
Let's
each
say they're
taxi.
doing $20 million and.
Exactly, so
work
they
every-
have the insurance for the company, but.
Well,
he
why
asked
are
me
they
to-
not providing it to us?
Yeah,
Because there is no permit,
Doesn't
why
matter.
would they need a permit?
because how
We
I
have contractors that work for us that give us a
I
certificate
would like to.
of insurance before they're even allowed to start. Why would we change
That's
it?
different than a bond, that's liability.
Well, the liability insurance is also what we're asking for.
So why don't we?
I'd like to hear what Dan has to say.
Yeah.
I mean, along with your affidavit thing, what I was thinking of is like, is there a way that we can implement an agreement that after they get issued a building permit, they have to give, like, we need the bond or whatever else we need,
Mhm.
for them to continue within a timely manner, and all building stops or the building permit is rescinded if they don't meet those requirements.
Even not backing ground.
Because if they, I mean, we've heard from Ariel that what's the name, Alcon?
yeah.
That they've stated that this is how they do it, and Seth sounds like he's gonna look into that too, so there's like maybe even a little bit more information we need, but if that is the way they do it, and that's how the project needs to proceed, I think we can still protect ourselves.
One quick thing, when I was in Buena Vista, I took a picture of this board that they put up outside of the project. It has the building permit. It has all the insurance documents and all the bond documents in this little folder here. It has the plans, and then it has the main plans, the construction documents down here,
Is
so
that on, public land or private?
it's on a town, so it's on a development, a town development.
Public?
This was right at the border of public and private, so it's
Is
like,
that on public land or private land?
so you have a street, and then it's right on next to the street. I mean, it's
Do
both
you mean the building?
Private.
Is it a city project or a private project?
city project.
Okay.
No, sorry, this is a private project, a development, South Main.
Okay.
So it's one of their buildings in South Main that they did this for, where they posted everything that they, it was really clean and nice. And I'm not saying that our company, our PUD has to do all this, but it just shows that they're upfront and, there's no question
So,
whether we're gonna be bonded.
and that building, they're already working on the building?
Yeah,
So I.
We don't know when they got all the permits, how was the process, so they
Sure.
have now everything.
right.
But we don't know how they got it, so I think the main thing here, we can help them, we help us. Let's do that, what you say, you know,
Affidavit.
and I don't know, it sounds for me the best way to go.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys.
So let's,
Yeah, I think the suggestion that, part of the building permit is to say, okay, within 30 days, we need to have this information. And I think, Seth had mentioned about talking to Elcom, and I think that's also good to get the information, to see how we can move forward on this. But I think the idea of having a time limit to where, once you get the building permit, your contractors have to do this. To me, that makes a lot of sense.
I'm under the impression you guys are telling me we're gonna have a building inspector and it doesn't matter what any of us say. So now we're talking about interjecting upon the building inspector that they need to
No.
require this.
I think that it comes down to responsibility. And it's the chicken or the egg problem that we're having. Do we issue the permit and then we receive the documents that we need to prove that if there's a problem, we have it,
Right,
we're
but
back.
who is issuing the permit?
Us, oh,
The
sorry.
building, we would issue the permit.
So we're going to bypass the building inspector requirement. Great. Awesome.
But I would-
Let's
We
carry on.
don't have to,
We
we
don't have
can wait till we get a building inspector, and that's just gonna delay the project.
Right, but then we would just tell the building inspector what we've decided.
All I'm saying is that I think we could expedite the process with an affidavit.
Fantastic.
Yeah, me too.
And I think the terms of the affidavit are proof of insurance, proof of bond, understanding of the taps and the tap fees that they can't tap or do any,
Okay, and I will further add to that affidavit that one, they cannot touch the roadway
Yeah,
without a tap fee application approved. And that they can, any water lines they lay within their private property must be inspected by our ORC before they are buried.
are you getting this?
It,
Seth?
and it goes further.
There is
than that.
also some
Pollination.
documents.
Bacteria.
We've got two things going on. Once again, the building permit would be for the structures, not for the tap fees, not for laying the lines. They did supply an easement.
Right,
They did not supply an application for connection to wastewater. Their easement agreement. All right, hold on.
I actually leave about 4:40 or 4:45 at the latest.
yeah, I do too.
I should be gone now.
So I would recommend then, after we finish this, that we quickly look at what we can carry over to the next meeting.
Everything.
Everything.
Well, everything else, but we already have a pretty big agenda for this, the next meeting.
Sorry, let me find this easement agreement electronically. Living Wisdom did record an easement. The easement shall carry with it the right of ingress and egress to and from the access on and along said easement with the right of use, existing roads to survey, construct, operate, maintain, repair, replace, remove, control, and or use the facilities, and full right and authority to cut, remove, trim, or otherwise control all trees, brush, and other growth from the overhanging said easement. All work by the grantee, which would be Living Wisdom, with the easement shall be done with care. The grantee shall restore the surfacing along the easement to substantially original level and grade. Grantor, which is the town, reserves the right to the use and enjoyment of said property, except for the rights granted herein, but shall not unreasonably interfere with the grantee's rights hereunder to disturb the facilities. And no building or structures shall be erected, placed, or permitted to remain on said easement without grantee's review for safety and access considerations. I'm sorry, grantor is Living Wisdom, and I'm trying to get down to where they were discussing. Grantee's easement shall be used by grantee to survey, construct, operate, maintain, repair, replace, remove, control, and or use certain existing underground utilities, herein called the facilities, on, over, under, and across the easement. The easement will carry with it the right of ingress and egress to and from the access on and along the easement, giving the town the right to use the existing roads to survey, construct, and repair. There was another document here that I'm trying to get.
Does that mean that it's already the town's property? So that means that they've kind of turned that particular
It is
property
not
over
the town property. They are giving the town an easement to have access to put these facilities in, these processes. They use the term facilities to put in the water line, to put in the sewer line, and what I would consider the main. There is one main that is running up their road, which would then have approximately 20 taps coming off of that main. I want to say that I did read there was an agreement to deed over the facilities. However, I am not seeing that in this document. This was sent over electronically. I'm trying to find that. Actually, it's in our code.
I think our building inspector is also gonna need to be the ongoing liaison to the developers.
What does everyone think about the idea of an affidavit, like, and having that, putting that process into place for this project?
I think it's a great idea because I think what it does is it gives us at least, you know, if it's signed by them before we do the permit, then we would have some kind of, you know, legal standing that basically says that this is what we required because you said that you wouldn't be able to get the, you know.
Would that mitigate your concerns, Dennis, if we had something like that in place? To be able to issue the building permit, if that seems to be the order of operations?
I think I would go just one step further and say that even though the permit is issued, that ground is not broken
Until,
until.
Yeah, no, definitely, I think.
so Seth, would you be willing to
Which,
do affidavit for us that they'd have to sign prior to us issuing a building permit? Maybe we could have it so that we can actually issue a permit on the 15th.
Really unclear about what the affidavit is going to do. And once again, it is kind of an extra requirement. The building permit is designed to look at what's in place now. And we are asking them to do an extra requirement, in my opinion. And this
Well,
would be
the
to provide
problem
proof of
I have-
insurance. What type of insurance? Can I get clarification on that point?
So we
Did what
definitely,
they agreed on in the contract, right?
well, they did state that they were gonna provide insurance,
When the permit was,
well, on here it just says they were gonna do, where is it?
Seth, in your documents, do you have that letter dated September 29, 2023?
I do. I don't have it. I had it open earlier.
So there was
I
a
jumped
thing
over
that
to the easement deed.
DPCH will require both performance and payment bonds from its builder. And the town will be listed as the additional insured on the bonds. So we haven't had any proof of that yet, so that's one of the things on the affidavit that we would like to see. That they cannot start without the town being listed as the additional insured and the bonds for the performance and payment bonds.
Are you sending you a copy of that?
I have it. I just have to get back to it.
Also a maintenance bond.
And you're discussing the one with the red letter, the response from them. Is that correct? Trustee
Yes.
Kozlowski?
Yes.
One other question, they claim that they only need one sewer tap. I don't quite understand if we're gonna be,
I don't either.
that was one sewer tap.
I didn't remember that on the drawing either.
I saw that there was the exact same amount of sewer taps as there were water
Okay.
taps.
Sure.
I mean, the only thing I can think of would be one bill that actually is broken out into what they call EQRs, which is like, how many particular toilets they have and how many sinks they have, and then there's one big payment. But I didn't think that that's what they wanted. I thought they actually wanted each unit to be paying water and sewer together.
That's how I thought it too. As a matter of fact, our sewer bill is calculated by amount of gallons used.
Right.
So no, they want to have a tap for the water for each building. And they're actually by law required to do that because, some person might use way more water, than another. And we measure for a household, we measure water usage, we do not measure sewage usage. So sewer is based upon an EQR.
So we're gonna just build
And-
one.
Right, and so water usage is a base by per gallon. So their setup is to have water meters for each person. Some people might use very little water, some people might
Right,
use a
okay.
whole lot. But sewage is based upon an EQR, just like any other building or commercial building or home or apartment building is based upon an EQR. So just like an apartment building might have, or a commercial building might have one sewer tank. It's based upon then how many units, like the building across the street, how many toilets, how many sinks, how many kitchens that you have.
Right.
And so that's where we have the one sewer tap, but it's based upon, it's a large
So
sewer tap.
when we
but it's
bill,
based upon-
are we gonna bill them, they'll have to have their own billing system for the sewer, and then we would have our own for water?
Correct, that's their own, and I would imagine, I don't know for sure, but I imagine that the sewer is probably built in with their rent, whereas water is a separate piece.
But our sewage treatment bill from our treatment authority is based on gallons. Why would we go by an EQR? We have no control over that. The only control we do have is if the sewage is billed proportionately to the gallons of water metered.
Right, however, we build structures, homes, commercial businesses, whatever, we build them according to EQRs.
Because we
That's how
have people
build-
hooked up to sewer but not water.
We can't
vice
measure
versa.
the
Yeah,
sewer.
we're not measuring.
I understand that for the people that don't have water and they have sewer, but there's no, my point is, we don't have any, that water meter is the only way that we can get properly billed or bill our customers in order to pay our sewer bill. We're always in the red on it.
So unless you wanted to put sewer meters on every house in town or every structure, it's all based, and it's an industry standard on how we use,
Each sink.
EQR.
Do you know how many gallons per day that is?
So it's a rough estimate if you have 3 bathrooms and 1 kitchen, or 1 bathroom, 1 kitchen, what the EQRs are, and we base it upon kind of the standard chart that this equals how many EQRs.
Can you give me an example of cost? From what I understand it, drop the mic.
So this.
The average
this
water
is-
consumption for a single family home of a family of 4 is about 320 gallons a day.
So.
The average of the water is a little bit less. Is that EQR anywhere near that?
So that, I think this is a discussion for another time.
Yeah.
Of, something to put on the agenda. I think it was about 2 years ago, we had our public works staff go around and sort of reassess EQRs because the uses of buildings have changed. Especially within the commercial district, the building usage had changed, like where there had been a store, there's now a restaurant. So we did that, and we have a figure of what we base, per EQR on. Now, if we want to, in the future here, not right now, take a look and see whether or not our EQRs are in alignment with what we're having to pay, that's not a bad idea. I mean, other than the flat rate of a sewage cost, looking at, especially where you see differences is within a commercial. But if you're a single person in a house with 3 bathrooms, you pay the same EQR as if you're a family of 5 in a house with 3 bathrooms. And that's the way it goes, but
My
this is.
sewer bill
all-
at my commercial
Right.
property is like
Right.
$300.
So this is,
Because of EQR.
Right. so an EQR discussion is not something
No.
we should have right now,
But-
but if you wanna talk about it in the future, we could always revisit how
We
we
do
do
need
it.
to revisit that.
Okay.
EQRs,
I gotta
we
go.
gotta go. Let's, real quick, before you go, well, I guess, we could just quickly vote, do a couple more items, or no?
I gotta go, but I also don't think I should vote on making myself a signer.
Okay,
Yeah, I have to go at 5.
all right, we'll postpone everything till,
So I would like to make a motion that we assign signer authority to, Benjamin Bayer as the mayor and Adam Kinney as the mayor pro tem.
I will second that one.
discussion,
Abstain.
abstain, all in favor?
I did wanna say, it's really awesome to have a new board and a new mayor. I think it's really awesome. And I really appreciate all these points you're bringing up, especially for longer term conversations, like our entire policy, our entire process, and EQRs, and I think those are all things that that deserve a lot of attention and have room for improvement.
We would need a quick, approval for overtime for for our new clerk.
I'm sorry, back to Elkin, I, have who motioned and who seconded.
I did,
His in motion and
and
Armando seconded.
I make a motion, we approve overtime for the week of 1 April 2024.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And I think, so I guess, Seth, since you're still on, how many people are leaving?
I'm leaving.
1, 2?
Okay, and so item M, wanted to do that one?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I have additional items for that, in case you want to look at.
Item M, signatures of trustee on UMB credit card resolution form.
This is a letter from UNB and then the actual form. And if you do approve it, I have one, for everyone to sign.
Does everyone need to sign it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion for signatures of trustees and would be credit card resolution form.
What we're looking
It's to make me the controller of the card.
So that-
Instead of whoever it was, I'm not even sure if it was this, I'm actually not.
at.
even
Is there a
sure.
secondary controller?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I mean, we've been managing it without.
It looks
that.
like there can be a secondary, it says there's an additional officer signature that's second person.
The
Uh,
board should be, you know, we should be getting the statements, which we do. So there shouldn't be a problem, we'll be able to see everything, all the statements.
Yes. Yes.
So would
It
the
looks like
actual,
once the
would the
second
other
person
additional
is there.
officer be the mayor?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what,
yes.
Okay, I would make the motion that, for, that we, assign Kim Gossett, the town treasurer, to the role of record keeper for the purposes of administrating our UMB issued commercial credit card ending in 1858 and water and sewer fund corporate card ending 3417 and any other credit card accounts in the town's name currently open. I would also add that the additional officer, for certifying, certifying to incumbency of record keeping would be Benjamin Fire, our town manager.
Second.
Sign it,
That good?
yes, it needs to be signed.
That what
oh,
you
the
need?
original.
Yes.
That what you need?
And then what about these additional signatures of members? We could also have everybody.
Do we need to vote?
It's on here.
Yeah,
I know.
Adam said.
Oh, sorry.
Well, he
Sorry, I
takes
had a
second,
second.
no?
Do we have a
Yeah,
vote?
Adam
Do we
said.
need to get the additional members too on,
It has to be all the trustees on the back here, and then your signature is gonna go on the.
so can you add that to the motion so that they'll. And any additional signatures?
Yeah.
Right? We got the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, everybody's signing. All right, now,
That don't mean it's cool.
Seth. We really wanna, I think the board is really concerned that they're gonna start building and doing, work without proof of insurance, proof of these bonds and anything having to do with the taps, we're just a little concerned that you might fall into like a liable situation. I don't know if it's true, but an affidavit might actually be really helpful just to, so that we can like be in agreement with them to just have, make sure that that stuff is in, if we do give them a building permit, so that we can let them move forward, but they would just, they're claiming that they can't get it without a building permit.
Who's giving the building permit? That would be from the
Town-
building
town
inspector.
board would- No, the town board would issue the building permit.
So the town board would have to make a motion to appoint itself as the building inspector. And then the town board would be stating that the rules and regulations, everything is complied with. Has anyone looked at those final plans that have been submitted?
Yes, we have. Dennis has looked at them, I've looked at them, Kizen's looked at them, planning commission has looked at them.
I would be cautious having the board be the building inspector. That's just my 2 cents.
Okay,
And what is going to happen when Living Wisdom does not sign the affidavit as presented?
then they wouldn't.
They've already submitted an email basically stating that this would be part of my attorney's report. The applicant did submit an application for a building permit on March 5th. This was followed with what I think was a lot of conversation with the clerk by the applicant and various board members. There is another email brought to my attention that is dated March 29th, in which the applicant states that it has been more than a month since CPCH submitted its building permit. which isn't necessarily true. Statements were also included that when the applicant was the clerk, these were issued much more quickly. However, I would like to note to the applicant that no PUDs were ever issued when they were the clerk, to my knowledge. The applicant then goes on to state that a delay of 4 weeks has cost CPCH approximately $100,000 in increased building costs. I really took this email as very accusatory toward the clerk and the town.
Still talking about the PUD.
Okay.
But once again, I do think that a building inspector does need to be appointed specifically for this project. It does cross the line from a single family resident to a PUD, which has a few more requirements on the building inspector. If the town board is going to appoint itself to that position, they need to very clearly do so, make some findings of fact, whether or not they're going to approve or disapprove of the building permit. It's not really a place to ask for additional things. You may ask for clarification, but once again, you're asking for additional steps with this affidavit, in my opinion. If they're going to say that we have not met the rules and regulations, state out what those rules and regulations are, such as your performance bonds. But I would like to kind of keep the issues separate. This would be building for the structures, period. This is not about related to the taps, the easement, and the extension of the main line. That would be from a separate application for extension of the water and sewer lines and then taps in addition to that. This is only related to the buildings.
I can't imagine them going in there and starting to build buildings without putting in the basic infrastructure prior. It just doesn't, maybe I'm wrong, but maybe they can go.
I agree with the mayor. I just don't see the sense in that.
I don't know what their building plan is. It's not spelled out very clearly in the approved PUD, but it is an approved PUD. If they're putting these in the main access road, are you going to put them in? Are you going to dig up the access road first and put in the utilities and then drive your heavy equipment over it? I don't know. I don't know what their plan is. I don't know what Alcon's plan is. Or are they going to come back after the buildings are built and put in the utilities for water and sewer?
Isn't it part of the PUD that they have to give us a construction schedule?
Yeah.
Well, that is another issue that the building inspector is supposed to look at, is if they're in compliance with the construction schedule. I have not necessarily seen the updated construction schedule from this applicant. I don't know if that's been provided to the planning and zoning. I would ask if that has to let us know.
We have never seen a general indication of the expected schedule of development from the planning commission has never seen that.
So what was provided through the final planning, the final PUD, is that the construction would be started in I don't have that in front of me. I want to say 2022 and completed in 6 months.
So we haven't seen a construction plan from them. Okay, well,
That was their construction plan, period.
who's talking to them? Sorry, these are things I just don't know.
IKEA, isn't it?
Yeah, the key is Nara.
Okay,
And you felt with her.
well, if
That'd be-
they're upset about not getting their permit yet, then, but we haven't gotten the construction.
We've had this
plan.
thing for over 2 years, something, so.
This
we
project
have
started in 2019.
a lot late, and they promised to come back and then never come back, the person will show up, don't show up, but.
Okay, so this is very ongoing.
It's not been us holding this up,
Yeah, so,
Well,
at
maybe
least not to this point.
should, is a step forward to tell them that we need their construction plan then?
Or as a step forward to, like Dennis is now saying, just hire.
They did submit a construction plan that was approved by the town with those vague dates.
We're talking, you're not talking about the plan, you're actually talking about the
Schedules.
schedule.
Okay, yeah.
Schedule.
so if it's special,
So we have a vague schedule and
So, if we had been staying on top of things we would never have gone without a clerk or a building inspector. We haven't had a building inspector since I don't know when.
Okay,
So that's a responsibility on the town that we did not have either of those positions ever since Scott left. And so that one's on the town, and right now you see the delays we're having because of appointing a clerk and also now having to find a building inspector. So that one's on us, and so we also saw last year when they came to the planning commission into the town, and the company that they had contracted with to bring in all the manufactured homes, went out of business.
okay,
And so they then had to scramble, and it took them a while, the town was kept informed that they had to come up with another builder crew. And nobody could do the manufactured homes, it had to be stick built on site. And so this was something the planning commission just earlier this month approved that change. So there has been a series of delays that I would say on both parties toward moving this project forward. They also had an issue last year when they had to go through, because they didn't get them manufactured homes. Because of inflation, the amount of money that the project was gonna cost has really gone up. Because all the building supplies and all of that has just really gone up, which meant they had to seek additional grants and funding to move the project forward, which they did. They were able to raise a big chunk of money more through, the governmental agencies that are supporting this project. So there has been a number of factors that have led into there being a delay, and I think they're ready to break ground right now as soon as they're issued a building permit.
yeah,
So,
and we wanna see this project move forward, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
That's
we're all-
what I take from the board. And
Okay.
Mayor, may I just ask if we can get a clarification on their expected schedule? That would be helpful. I am now looking at their final PUD narrative. And it states, construction is scheduled to begin by mid-late summer 2021 and will be completed within 4 to 6 months, dependent on the vendor schedules and weather.
So we need a more.
I don't know if the town has asked for an updated schedule since 2021, but it's fairly clear to me that they're in violation of their timeline and schedule at this point in time.
Well, yeah, but so we need an updated and more detailed schedule that includes a date when they're going to show us the bonds and like all of these things that we brought up. And so maybe.
And that is
let's
part of the
say-
determination that the building inspector will make whether or not to issue the building permit.
Right. So it kind of comes back to the building inspector thing.
The quandary that I see here is that it will go through the effort of getting ourselves a building inspector. And it's never been the town that has delayed this project. It's been months and years from time to time, each step that they've made. So we can go through that process, actually having someone lined up, and they can wait another 2-3 months. And where are we at then? We got somebody online that's not gonna have anything to do. And they could review those documents, they could request all that stuff and still not get it.
I'm really over the blame game. There's a lot of things that have gone on. And I think that where we are right now is we do what we need to do to be a fully functioning town and have a building inspector. And we go ahead and we ask them for the updated timeline. There's a lot of reasons why a lot of things were not done, and there was a lot of dysfunction. But I would like to move past that.
This
And let's move
this is not a blame
project
game.
forward.
This,
I'm tired of hearing about who didn't do what.
this is not a blame game. This is the financial game for the town. We are on a limited budget. We don't have anything budgeted for a building inspector. This has nothing to do with putting blame.
And
This is
the
finance.
who did the budget should have budgeted for a building
We
inspector.
did actually budget for something.
$5,000. So we should have
Not
budgeted
$5,000.
for a building inspector. And
Then
it's
what
not
about
losing
that?
wisdom's
Then
fault
we
that
thought
we
something
did not
for-
budget for
It
building,
was
so
7,000 for the
let's
engineer.
get this done.
Okay.
Let's just move forward and do what we need to do and get it done. And we should have budgeted for a building inspector, we
I
didn't.
think we
Yeah,
did.
We
yeah.
budgeted $7,000 for
Yes.
engineering for this project. That's our building inspector.
Thanks.
So
Let's do what needs to be done. And let's make sure that everything is together so that this project can move forward in a proper
So
manner.
let's go back to the wood, huh?
Did we budget to have somebody? I mean.
No, yeah, we did it, we have it there for anything that could happen, so.
I would
Bless
just,
But I think both.
Can we, let's go back to the attorney and just figure out,
Yeah.
we all want this project to happen.
It's Sunday.
We all want this project to happen. Some people have more roadblocks, some people less. What would be, in your opinion, Seth, the best way to just move forward on this so that the town is protected? They're protected, and they can start doing their project. What would be the very best way to just get this going, honestly?
Town board should appoint a building inspector that has some background and experience with construction. That building inspector would then be able to complete his recommendation or review of the application, the permits that have been issued, all of the applicable ordinances, rules, and regulations.
Okay.
He or she would then either approve or deny the application.
Okay,
If it's approved, it would then be submitted to the town clerk for delivery to the applicant.
okay. So to expedite that, we need a motion to hire somebody, and we'll have to have the clerk, look for a professional building inspector.
so Adam already made that
I currently
motion to
have,
post.
I have a motion to advertise and post to hire contractor, building inspector contractor on a per permit basis.
Okay. So are you guys
And I
happy
do
with?
believe that the town board could do that without advertising, without posting. They can appoint someone, call it interim. We need to have a building inspector for a specific permit that is in front of the applicant right now.
Okay, so maybe each one of us could actually try to get somebody, put it on the agenda for Monday, and let's try to get somebody who can,
I'm sorry,
We should
I
need,
don't know where it's
Huh?
at.
That's okay.
usually I need to know the qualifications, but I can find out later too, so.
somebody, there's a number of decent builders around here.
Okay.
I was thinking Adam, please, he lives right outside of town, he's,
I didn't know he lived in our design.
Brett Buchanan's coming back into town.
Who?
I was thinking about him.
oh, Brett Buchanan. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
from Crescent,
oh, yeah.
Crescent and
Sam Chase used to be the building inspector.
But we're looking for someone who's also familiar with the PUD documents, isn't that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. It's been a lot for such a person.
If that's what you want to call these documents, yes.
I was any professionals.
But once again, I do think that the tap or the application for water and wastewater are a separate issue.
Under project.
I already saw it.
Project and wilderness living system.
Oh, 10,000.
10,000.
10,000.
But I thought that we
Mine
removed
says
some,
10,000, this is dated,
No, 7,100.
because we moved something for something else, I don't know.
7,100. That's plenty, right?
I saw 7,100 on most of them, but his does say 10.
What were you saying, Seth? I'm sorry.
there's 7,1 now.
I never know the fish.
Did you
Mayor, I
respond?
guess I'm not sure, possibly just that
The question
this
was
is a
about,
permit only
Seven.
for the structures. This is not a permit for construction of wastewater or water infrastructure.
okay,
Understood.
so.
Trustee
let's have some-
Pazlusny, were you provided with the easement documents related to the wastewater and water infrastructure?
No, the only thing I've seen that came with the last engineering. But not.
I
in
might
the-
ask the clerk for a copy of that, just for some information.
I'll send you a copy of that then.
Thank you.
So can we say that on Monday, we will try to find somebody? maybe a few options.
I'd like to see that happen if possible.
But, yeah, he was making observation for the person qualifications, right? For the person that we need to hire to do the inspection on the building.
Well,
That is in the personnel policy, the job description.
yes, I was combining the PUD with it, and that's not necessary. This is strictly for the building.
And for clarification, I'm adding to the next agenda that we will be appointing a building inspector.
At least listening to,
If we can do
We
it.
could have high hopes.
high hopes.
I hope you get.
But yeah, just put it on the agenda for that, so that we
Yeah.
can do that. So next on the agenda, let's see, grants and grant capacity support from the state, we already had that. Craig. I do wanna say that we have some grants that are already applied for, and we've already spent some money that needs to be reimbursed, and it's like, like $60,000 range.
What?
Yeah. And so following up with this woman, Randy, eventually is really important because she's kind of I think there's 2 grants with FEMA, is
Okay.
it, no, DOLA,
Cause we have one for 139, right?
3 total grants.
Why do we have to reimburse them?
Because somebody
Because we
did the
didn't spend
money.
it right, or?
We would have to reimburse them if we don't use them.
Properly,
Oh,
but we've already spent some, so.
And other things and now for the thing that were made.
No, I think it was engineering, it was, what do we do? We did some, the scoping and jetting and stuff like that, all was
A
under,
lot of those.
we spent the money.
Yeah, so what I would suggest, because, I mean, I said earlier about maybe looking at having a work session. And we can write down all of the ones that we have and, prioritize them and see what we can get help with. Because we also have the repairs to this building. That was something that Cirsa mentioned as part of their review. We also have the Cottonwood Street Bridge that's going on, and
Is
I'm
that-
sure there's a whole number.
That's not something though that we applied for, but I thought we
Yeah.
didn't get the grant.
So there's a number of things that we had either really started already, those are priorities like this building. So I would say, rather than spend a lot of time on this right now, let's look at having a work session with Craig, and we can tell him what we have on our wish list, what we have in process already, and he can say what sort of.
Don't you think that because Randy was kind of willing to help us, that, it's more her than Craig, and Craig could join to,
That would be great.
I think,
Yeah, we could use the direction and helping with prioritizing.
we put that on. the
Mr.
agenda.
Fairclaw is the regional grant facilitator, so he's actually the one you're gonna be contacting regarding those grants, would be my impression.
However, Randy, was on a meeting, I think it was the last meeting, and she said something like, she knew everything that we were doing. For some reason, she was the one that actually told us where we were at with all the grants, and she was also the one that, basically said that how we have to comply and all that, and I think, did you have a meeting with her?
Yeah, she showed me how to do the quarterly status reports.
Okay, and have you been able to do that?
Yes. But I do need to speak with her soon, so, and Craig did say that he would be happy to have a meeting with you guys and with Randy, so that you could have like the full scope from federal and state.
But did we put on the agenda for next time that we were gonna come up with a date for Randy's, like one of those Fridays, or did we already pick a date, or what we have?
I don't think we picked a date, because they said preferred Fridays and we batted around some Fridays, I think we were gonna try to reach out to them.
Yeah, I was asked to get more clarification on what that meeting was about
Well-
before scheduling it.
I would definitely be, if I can work, if I can get my schedule to work with it, I would go to that work session though. Hear what everyone has to say.
It's just Wednesday, right?
No, this is,
Okay.
we haven't made a date for it, But I was thinking that it would be good if we combine that one day with Craig and with Randy at the same time. And that, and make it into something that we go through everything we've already started. And then I had one other question about the grant from the Firewise that we just are receiving. How is that supposed to be, we're actually receiving a grant?
Yeah, for the 139.
So what do we have to do now to start activating that?
We have to approve it.
Approve it?
Yeah,
It's
it's
not-
not get signatures on it. They addressed it to Adam, but it's really for the board.
So where is it? It's not in, is it in?
Hey, it was,
We tabled it
it
to
was,
the next meeting.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
There
no,
is
I thought I saw it.
the budget.
It was on the original agenda, but it was tabled for the next.
Okay, that,
Now, that kind of leads me to one quick thing that we really want to activate our Firewise committee. Because the Firewise committee,
what about it?
we want to reactivate it.
Yeah, I would like to be part of that one.
Yes.
Definitely.
So, great.
What's the Firewise committee?
About mitigation and around our town.
So the Firewise is like a separate organization committee that, we have to have in order to receive grants. That's the reason why we got this grant. Now, just recently, we renewed it with, what was this big guy's name? What's that guy's name that helped us?
I can't remember, but it was in the last meeting, or 2 minutes.
Well, anyway, he basically helped us renew it, and now we just have to meet.
Okay,
And so we already kind of came up with this whole big plan, to try to do, I think it was 30 acres of work inside of the town,
okay.
from clearing all these, like, the streets and all that. And
Is part of that like picking up the slash from people's?
No, even more
houses
than
and
that
stuff?
too. I mean, depends how you go to the
It could be
mitigation,
more,
because I do mitigation with Baca and the Firewise committee for Saguach too, and they come and do a preliminary setup for your house, and they tell you what they can do. And they has, you know, how many feet from the house, and they can tell you, and you can say yes, no,
But
that we're
if
understanding.
you look at this grant,
Okay.
if you look at this grant, the idea is to protect the town. And we gotta do it in a way that kind of the most efficient way, because we don't have, it's not that much
Are
money.
you, I would like to invite, Daniel Johnson,
Yeah.
he'll be the, Firewise committee for, I don't know how many
Yeah.
years in charge, he
Not
have
for
a land
town, for the
knowledge
county.
for the county, and he's a firefighter for over 35 years, he's a really qualified person for this job, and he always work really nice with people, he got a good, way to communicate with you, like
Oh,
him.
I think that we're gonna have to do a bidding process on the work.
Well, the work, yes, because we have, actually, that was really interesting, because we have a lot of firefighters that do that job,
Sure.
and when you guys talk about somebody else, they kind of local, but I would like to do, the firefighters have better understanding
Oh,
of
yeah.
what we do and choose, so, all this stuff.
I know a lot of firefighters were asking like, can I bid on this job?
Exactly, because I talked to them too, and I would like to have, you know, this help to the local firefighters, because town is 100% volunteer, we have some, you know, I have the calling step when we respond a call in the back, it's $50 for a firefighter, but we can work 24 hours for those $50, you know,
Right.
so it's really,
Yeah, so they know, I understand that the firefighters definitely need work.
Yeah.
Right now,
Yeah.
so the committee before was,
sorry, he had a question.
oh, one second.
Yes.
We had Firewise, Firewise committee was me and then actually Craig,
The
the
firefighter chief,
Ben and Antonowitz was
Yeah.
on the committee.
yeah, too.
Adam Moore, he was the one that helped us. He's from the state. We had him as a member.
Mhm.
Steve Hume, Dea Scheide, Ben Brack, Kim Martinez.
Yeah.
And me. I don't know, can we have, I'm wondering if we can have more than 2 board members on this committee.
So Hume is not anymore in the boardroom.
He's not, so we could actually ask him to stay on.
Oh, well, yeah, King is there too, so.
So we're gonna have to reactivate this committee, because I think it's something that, as
Mayor,
this grant comes up, yes.
I have a question. When you were saying that you had people that were interested in bidding on it, is that, those are individuals,
Companies.
Yeah,
companies?
individuals for the town, they have the company, have insurance and all this stuff. We do our certification, we have a really strict, service, and the firefighter department, so everyone had to go for, you know, from zero to all the people. Well, I know she talked about Ben, He's been a firefighter for over 12 years. He's a hot shot. He was and different fires on the state.
Do those funds go to the fire protection district?
No,
No,
Or
this
they
is,
go to an individual?
No.
that will be.
they go to the town. They're
Is it for the
coming to the town, and the Firewise committee would make recommendations to the
The
board,
fire.
and then the board would decide on how those funds get spent.
Under the fire, in other words. Okay.
Mhm.
But
But everyone has to have insurance and all this stuff. Definitely.
the main thing the Firewise committee would look at, we would look at the grant that we received and actually try to meet their specifications as best we can, and that's how we would bid it. Because what happened was, when we applied for this grant, I had to go around and actually show, like, take pictures of like dense spots and all that. And then I had to go around and get signatures from all of these various, landowners to say that if there's any possibility we could go on their land and do the work. However, there's a lot of work inside the town boundaries that are actually pretty hot spots. Some of
So
those
did we
trees-
get, when I was looking at it earlier, did we get this grant?
Yes.
We were awarded the grant.
We were awarded the grant?
Yeah.
Cause when I looked at that, I was like impressed by the amount of money that was.
Yeah.
That was like 100,000.
Yeah, so
We
thank
have-
you, that was a good job.
Yeah, we fought for that one.
Normally,
So do we, I'm gonna have to leave soon, I got company actually at my house. Do we have more that we need to?
No, but we were talking about grants, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because I just wanna, and it includes the Firewise committee, I just wanna recreate the Firewise committee so we can go through that grant and do it separately from the board and then bring it to the board. So that's it. So I don't know if we need a motion to restart the Firewise committee or if we need.
We-
I would make a
Yeah.
motion that we reactivate the Firewise committee in order to find an administrator to make suggestions on the
Second,
grant.
okay, got a first and second, and then,
I want.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then we'll talk about members, definitely Armando. We go through our members here, see if they still wanna be on it.
Yeah, having Craig be a good thing, because he's the fire chief, Crestone Fire Department too, so.
Yeah,
So I'm really impressed by the amount that you were able to get for that.
that was
So-
wild, because I didn't think we were gonna get it. and we ended
So
up-
the county, the fire commission county only got 40,000 every year. And they do a lot of private property with that one. We're 130,000, oh my God, it's
I know,
plenty.
and the cool thing is like, we can do a lot of our own land, which I would recommend
Yeah.
we do first. Because we have a lot of streets that are
Yeah,
they're undeveloped streets, but they just would take a fire right through, into the town.
and I would like to, for support, contact Daniel Johnson, he had a lot of experience and he
Sure.
can express all the certifications and knowledge that he has, so.
Okay.
So I would suggest to the Firewise committee that we have Armando and yourself, and then I would leave it up to you to grab a few other people to be on your Firewise committee. I would highly recommend you don't have a third board member, because when you do, you have to post those meetings as
Right.
public meetings all the time.
Okay.
And so please grab some other
But
people.
check with Kim too, if she wanna continue, that's fine too, so.
And then the next on our
Yes.
agenda is the personal handbook revisions, and we decided we were going to hold on that because it's gonna take a lot of work. And then I would also ask if we can take the planning commission meeting and put that for
That's
Monday
fine.
as
There
well.
wasn't anything, it was really had to do with what we already talked about, so we can
Okay.
leave that. The one thing I did wanna bring up was with the hiring committee, do we want to respond to the other applicant who applied for town clerk?
I would, to say that, send a letter that says thank you for your interest in this position with the town. We have decided to hire another applicant.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay,
you heard that?
yeah.
Okay, that's good.
And, I think we've already had pretty much our attorney's report.
Is there any more on your report, Seth?
There's quite a bit.
Oh, there's quite a bit. Well, I know we have that long list that you had given us. I don't see it again. I'd like to keep that in our binders, the list of stuff that we've been working on with you.
I've got a report. I will probably try to submit that Monday. Monday is actually a docket day for me, the 15th. So I don't know that I will be able to attend the meeting.
Do you,
Um,
you guys want to hear this report? We have a quorum still.
Ethan,
I
Yeah.
can try to do it within 5 minutes. It'll be very 30,000 foot view though.
Okay,
I guess I may just start off with a statement that you have decided to secure approximately 10 hours of representation a month. We want to take this month for reference. Today's gone about 6 hours. I have not billed for the entire time I prepared for this meeting. I think I had about 2 hours written down. However, there was much more time than 2 hours spent reviewing this last week. There were quite a few phone calls with Miss Egbert, the clerk, and various trustees. So just be prepared. Some things are not going to get done this month. Just from today's session, I've been asked to contact Miss Egbert. I actually did that over lunch hour. She will be trying to get a report in by the end of the week. She is traveling, but that was definitely the first time I'd heard of any accusations of a lack of procedure in the election process. I've also been asked to review an ORC contract with Brett Collier, make a few changes to that, and then submit that back by Monday. I've also been asked to contact Alcon, and I am going to take a little initiative there and also contact IKEA and ask for some clarification on some of these points and possibly even create an affidavit. We're going to be running out of time. I mean, it's just not possible to do everything in 10 hours a month. So I'll start with that, I guess.
so what would
I
be,
did create a resolution to declare the vacancy on the town board. However, we filled that with our new trustee. And then just for my notes, can I clarify your name again? I had it written down, Miss Dana Oglesby.
Yep,
Is that
actually, just for reference for the board, I use they them pronouns, so I don't know how you wanna put that in your notes. But that's what it is.
so it'll be trustee and then OGLESBY.
Yep,
we'll just call
Okay.
you trustee.
yeah, trust.
How do you, how
Well,
do you,
trustee, really, I want to come off and just welcome you onto the board. There's a lot going on, and there should be a resource binder that the previous seat had. And I would definitely try to get that in your hands as soon as possible. A lot of that will help
Yeah,
you
yeah.
fall asleep at night in some cases, but
this, had all the rules, it had all the ethic,
I will get your resources. Okay, sweet. Sorry, go
try to
ahead.
use that as much as possible. It's just a good basis. I don't know your background. I would like to have open, clear, frank communication with each trustee. Each trustee has my phone number. You can have that also. I definitely try not to nickel and dime the town for each and every phone call that occurs. Some of them get fairly long, but I do want to have that communication and open conversation with you. So please feel free to call me if you ever have the opportunity.
Awesome, thank you.
So starting my report, the 1041 rules and regulations, I will be asking the board to set a public hearing on that. Those rules and regulations have been kind of modified. I'm fairly happy with them now. We will have to publish that in the newspaper. That can be, publication has to go out no less than 60 days and no more than 30 days from the date of publication when the public hearing is. So that will be in my report for Monday. I would like to set a work session to review those rules and regulations as drafted so that the board can make a decision at that public hearing. They do have a background of the rules and regulations and then also any public comment that they receive. That is the last step in adopting the rules and regulations and adopting the 1041 regulations regarding the export of water from the San Luis Valley. Starting with the Baca Grande Water and Sanitation, I was just provided with a discharge permit last week from Mr. Locke. I would like to schedule a work session to review the current draft agreement for processing of the town wastewater for 20 years and the associated discharge permit. That would just be providing the board with the agreement as drafted so far to see what kind of sticking points we still have. I regret to say, I think one of the sticking points is going to be some tap fees. I've been discussing that with him actually this morning before our meeting, but just to continue, let the board know where we're at, and we are still working on that. My next point was bringing up that our clerk is acting as a deputy. Sounds like we fixed most of that. It's just my impression that the Board of Trustees has a desire to limit the ability of the clerk due to a lack of experience in the position. Nothing negative against the clerk, just she's new to the position. Statutorily, the county clerk will serve as a deputy clerk, and they serve in the absence of the clerk's absence. However, that's at the county level. We do not have that at the town level. I really ask, what is the difference between the deputy clerk and the clerk? I don't know what that is. We don't have a separate job description. We have one for a town clerk, period. The town clerk really is operating in a gray area. What can the clerk do and what cannot the clerk do? They may not know. I do think that that can kind of lead us to some paralysis. We do have to have actions done by the town. Things have to keep moving. I think that our prior clerk probably felt in the same way, that he serves at the pleasure of the board. You do something wrong, you're going to be removed by that position. However, having a job description gives you some constraints to act in, and we do not have a job description for a deputy clerk. So what we're trying to do is limit their ability to do so, but it's also tying their hands and kind of tying the hands of the town to operate. That moves me on to a building inspector. I would ask that the board appoint a building inspector. It's clearly stated on page 225 of 234 in the packet that the town board can do that, but that brings me back to that gray area in our job description. The building inspector says that that will be appointed by the town board. However, in our clerk job description, it's codified. It says that that can be staffed by the clerk. I do read that as staffing to include the actual building inspector. However, that is a gray area. It's leaving, once again, our clerk kind of in a gray area with what is a deputy clerk? Can she act as the clerk or not? Whoever that building inspector is, they must be available to review the plans and permit as submitted. I printed out the final PUD narrative again today. I compared it to my prior notes. That's a 44-page document. I printed out the September 29th letter. That's only a 3-page document, so that's a fairly easy read. However, that building inspector also has to be available to complete inspections, including an initial inspection of the staking for the initial locations of the buildings. And that ties me back to this permit that's being sought is for the buildings. It's not for the infrastructure, wastewater, and water supply lines. This is just for the buildings. This is stated on their easement map. I hope that it's stated in their final PUD package. It's just for the buildings. Yes, it does seem kind of backwards and counterintuitive that they would not have all of this combined, but an application would then have to come in for water and wastewater taps also. If the building inspector is hired, they would then approve if they find all the conditions are met and sign the building permit and the applications if the permit is in order. If the permit is order, it would then be provided to the clerk for issuance. That's out of our code at 15-9. The clerk or designee is under no circumstances permitted to grant an exception to the actual meaning of any clause, order, or regulation contained in this chapter. And any person making an application to construct, move, alter, or use either building, structure, or land. The clerk does not have the ability to modify this section at all, and neither does the building inspector. It's my understanding, I went over this briefly, an application was submitted on March 5th. This was followed once again with a lot of conversation with the clerk, by the applicant, and various board members. Everybody's trying to figure out what's going on. This is a problem, and how can we solve this and move on? I really think that's the intention of the board, is to move forward to keep this going on. I was then sent an email dated March 29th from the applicant, and they clearly stated it's been over a month. It's been close to a month since they submitted their permit. It seemed like they really took some offense to the fact that we haven't moved quicker on this. There were clearly statements that when the applicant was a clerk, these issues were resolved more quickly. Once again, I would say I don't know of a PUD that's ever been approved by the town, and I don't think that this prior clerk ever saw a PUD building permit.
By the way,
They
with
then went on
that,
to say that there's a delay of 4 weeks, and that has cost CPCH approximately $100,000 in increased building costs. I really wanted to say that I feel that this is very accusatory toward the town and our clerk. All of that information is contained on page 125 of the packet.
when we,
And I just would ask the board and the applicant to review that page and also town code section 15-2-50. I touched briefly on the board of trustees and clerk training. I would ask our new trustees, our new mayor, to review the trustee resource binder. It's always recommended for new and anyone that's newly elected. All the board of trustees members appear to be required to do some CIRSA online training, which was a action agenda item we didn't get to, entitled Ethical Behavior for Elected Officials. That was in our loss prevention control report from CIRSA.
we'll put that back
Would
on.
ask that if any training can be provided by Miss Egbert to our clerk, I would support that. And I would ask if any additional clerk training can be provided by CIRSA or the Colorado Municipal Clerks Association. Please support her in doing so. That is very valuable. It sounds like she's doing that already. I'm continuing to work with Mr. Brad Crowell of Saguache County related to the road maintenance IGA. And I have a note that I still need to clarify with the clerk if HUTF funds are being remitted to the county or if they're being saved by the town. The second note is that I'm still looking for a map or attachment that delineates the joint area of concern. It's basically that 3-mile circle drawn around the town. I then went into the personnel policy, which I actually have a lot of conflicts with our existing policy.
I have a quick question about the IGA. Is there any way that we could get, Adam Moore made a really nice map for this, Firewise grant, and he has a mapping program that's, really specific and really nice. Is there any way that we can, maybe ask him? I would be willing to reach out to him. I mean, do we
Feel
need a
free.
map?
We need a 3-mile,
Okay.
I forget if it's a radius or a diameter drawn around the town. That was the only attachment that I ever saw.
Okay.
It was on an
IGA.
8.5 by 11. It was very simple. We weren't looking for anything.
Whatever it is. Yeah, okay, well, I'll try to get the map for that.
The personnel policy, there were a lot of small things that I thought conflict with existing policy, some rules and regulations, kind of the clerk or a staff position, and then specifically some changes to section 6.1.03 related to FAMLI and FMLA. I want to make sure that we are in compliance with our changes from 3 to 2 minutes per hour and that those are valid. And I also want to try to include that the town opted into FAMLI, which we must now comply with, and make sure that that is actually being complied with. Those are some quarterly reporting requirements and some expense that the town has to pay in along with the new employees. So that was kind of the quick and dirty. I'm sorry to rush through that, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, there's a lot, and, I was hoping that we could, at some point, maybe, in our binders, have your list going so that we can keep referring back to that list, because it was pretty in-depth, and each one obviously we want to get taken care of and get it off that list.
I believe those were sent over electronically and they could be
Yep.
printed out if you'd like.
Well,
I didn't receive a copy.
we had it from last meeting, it was in the last meeting. packet.
Okay.
But even just, it'd be a nice thing to have kept in our binder, because it is ongoing projects that are really important, and it's pretty in-depth.
I mean,
So-
that was just a very cursory review too. I know I was working with Scott on the cemetery projects, trying to recoup plots that may have not been used or paid within the last 80 years, paid for within the last 80 years. So just quite a few things. Sorry to step on you, Trustee Lucy.
I just want to clarify, I sent you the information with Ben Collier and you'll be contacting him? Or is that gonna come back to us and then we contact him? On the contract for the ORC?
Um, I would like to contact him. Did you send me his information?
I did, I thought I sent his email.
There, I do
address.
see that now. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I would like to provide him a contract with my additions. It would then be not approved until he and the board review that.
I'm good with that.
And Seth, I had one quick question about, the 10 hours, if we were to figure out a way of increasing, because there's certain things that I think we need to, consider. Now, spreading it out throughout, over a period of time would be ideal. I know we wanna finish some stuff, but how much time do you think you would be asking for that would make it, within reason? Considering our, just so we have an idea. An extra.
That's a very good question. It does change quite a bit monthly. This last month, I spent a lot of time that I didn't record simply related to the election, in my opinion. That doesn't happen very often. That's about every other 2 years.
Right.
And like I said, last month, 10 years or 10 hours a month, it's not very effective or efficient. It's kind of enough to get a lot of things started, but not finished.
Right.
I would hate to venture out a guess, but I guess my guess would be at least 20 hours a month per town. Would be a very minimal guess of what I spend on most of my towns. Usually it's probably more in the 35-hour range when you're actually doing everything.
Okay. I'm just trying to get an idea. I mean, we really need to get our budget and actual so that we really know where we're at with things, because that's, something that we have no idea right now where we're at. So our financials are really important, but maybe there is a place, for instance, we're working on this, building inspector thing. It said we had $7,100 for this engineering thing. Well, some of your time, a lot of your time has gone into this planning and development, so it'll be taken out of that.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to see if we have extra money, because we do need your help.
Well, extra money is very hard to come up with, but I would really ask the town to look at its income. Where is it at? Are we actually having this projected shortcoming that kind of precipitated this cutting the budget in half or not? If we do not have that projected shortfall, you may run into issues in the future when you go to increase your budget again. You can cut your budget fairly easily, but increasing it, you do run into some considerations, be that Tabor, be that growth limitations. So keep that in mind, please. And I do think that a note for the clerk, our budget supplement should take into account the expenditures today on the valve for the water tank and also the ORC contract. I think just make a note that those need to go into our budget supplement.
So, well, I would like to have an ongoing list of things that we're having to supplement.
Mayor, shouldn't the ORC go into, personnel, because we would normally be paying Miguel if he were still here. Wouldn't that go into that, into salaries?
Yeah, but what is it?
Aaron mentioned something, and he said from the main something, but I can't remember what he went to get in money. Early.
For money, oh, well, so at some point, we're gonna have to do the supplemental budget.
Yes,
Is that, and
pay the OG that you were talking about, for the money when I come from, you said? Thank you,
Well, if we had Miguel was still.
Either way, we need a
pay
list.
his salaries.
so that when we get to that
Okay, so
point,
you
we
wanna
can
get that
just
money?
easily.
I think so.
Check with Aaron, because I think he mentioned some other comment, and I don't know.
Anything that we've been spending extra that's not
Oh,
part
that
of
was
the
just in
budget,
general corporate.
we have to
Yeah,
create a
that's
new
fine.
budget, add that in, and then turn that in as a supplemental. Otherwise, and we really need to go back and do, as Warren always says, we need to go back eventually and do that. And that was something I wanted to quickly bring up, was that for the next meeting, I'd like to discuss hiring or looking at hiring a actual accountant, like a full-fledged government accountant contract to come in and help us catch up on everything that we need to do to become up to date on our,
So outside of our financial specialists, we would like to have.
yeah, and I don't know what that's gonna entail or how much it's gonna entail. But I would like to have somebody come in and really catch us up on past, you know, like. Financial statements, I mean, Warren does have a point, that we're kind of acting out of. Right now, we're just have a deficit when it comes to, yeah. Go ahead, go ahead.
When you say past, you mean this year, I mean
No, I'm actually referring to 2022, 2021, and 2020, I believe. We have to supplement those budgets because we spent money that we didn't budget for. We spent outside of that and we were supposed to supplement those budgets accordingly. Now, that's gonna be a lot of work because we gotta go back. But those are things that, I guess, and am I right, Seth, that we are required to go back and actually supplement budgets in the past?
Would be best
Yeah.
practices, yes. I would ask though that we kind of keep the eye on the prize. I don't want to scare anybody, but usually the clerks, the administrators start looking at a budget for next year here in June or July. And I believe that that first draft has to be presented to the board in October. And honestly, that's right around the corner.
So, I mean, now we have a pretty decent budget that we can actually use as a template for next year. But,
But what about the supplemental budget that we had to do for those years you
well,
mentioned?
that's gonna be, so we are gonna have to do a supplemental budget for this year, because we're spending money outside of the budget. I know, see, one thing that I got grained in, that was one thing I think that, Ms. Klusmeyer did for us, was she really ingrained the fact that the budget is our plan. It is what keeps this, you know, that basically we have a plan for the year, of what we're gonna spend based on projections, and then we really need to stick to that as best we can. And if we don't stick to it, then we have to supplement it.
Yeah, and I definitely understand what you're saying, and, it's. My position has been when I'm putting out fires all around,
Yeah,
and that's my only job, and
yeah,
so far, you know, it's still like
Yeah.
that. For example, I have not had possession of the budget until today. Now, I have it in hand. Well, I'll get a copy of the electronic version and I'll hope to put it into QuickBooks, and that's where you see, you know, those neat statements of budget versus actual
nice.
financials. And that those numbers have to go into
Sure.
QuickBooks somehow. So that's my next move.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, until, when you're done putting out all these fires, which you're probably not gonna be for a little while, but we just need to start getting a handle on it, especially starting up to date and current.
If we had what you're referring to, that would take the heat off of Kim, and she'd be able to proceed in the direction she's going right now without having to go back to the supplementals and not deal with that at
Sure.
all.
Yeah, but now we're already having to do supplements,
Yes,
so it's not that big a deal, because I think that if we keep a list ongoing of what we're spending extra, like that last thing that we just, was it $4,000, but, and that just goes in our supplemental, we just remember that we
that's
did it.
correct.
But if we keep up with that, then it's not gonna be like, oh shit, we got, like we did with the land purchase or things like that, where we just like never supplemented the budget for it.
We should maybe issue a PO on that, and then we have that memory of that document to put in the supplemental.
Right. Does that make sense? So like everything that's spent outside of the budget has to, eventually, if we wanna be legal, has to be supplemented. And then we have to have a new budget for next year that's presented to the board in October.
Right, and another thing is, and I've heard from Virginia was the person from Swatch, good auditing experience. We don't have an auditor lined up for the current,
No,
uh,
we had one,
Well,
it went from Wall Smith and Bateman, then it went over to another company, and they were the ones that did our audit last year.
Okay.
And they probably, I think you're supposed to only do it 2 years or something like that with one company, or 3 years.
the Wall Smith and Bateman did
they used to do it, but we switched over.
Oh,
Let me see.
okay. Yeah, and I've been in contact with that CPA, whose name is escaping me at the moment, Miriam. Is it last name?
Okay, let me just see real quick.
And he provided some information last year, but yeah, we need to line one up for the upcoming.
Yes.
And I didn't know about this 2-year or every other year aspect.
Yeah, well, I think it's just, again, am I right, Seth, that it's best practice to switch your auditor every 2 or 3 years? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I don't believe that that is a requirement, and honestly, most people in the San Luis Valley will use Wall Smith and Bateman for quite a stretch of time, and then go to another auditor for a year or two just to verify Wall Smith and Bateman, and then go back to WSB.
Yeah, that's the one. Okay, so, yeah, we should come for this year. Yeah, this is interesting.
As far as setting up the auditor goes, is that something that we need to do? Who
I
needs to
think
be
it's
in
something I
charge of
need to
that?
do, yeah.
So you line it out and then it comes to the board and they give a proposal for next, that audit and.
Okay, cool. I just want to be clear that we're not like dropping the ball on you. We should be doing that.
Yeah, I think it's my thing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
I think
part of
we
this.
definitely,
learning.
here.
I'm learning
Auditor
every
one
day
time.
what my job is.
so on this budget, in this budget, we have $24,700 set aside for the auditor. And I think that was high because we were gonna do, no, actually it's 12,000 and then 24,000 for the one-time forensic audit.
And we keep nibbling away at that, I'm afraid that we're not gonna have any enough left.
I mean, I would propose that we, instead of bringing in a forensic auditor, we actually bring in a real high-quality CPA that does government accounting and really catch up on our
Well,
stuff.
there was a complaint from Warren that he was requesting that kind of auditor because they're missing, or he believe there is something misunderstanding with this $100,000 that was spent on the land, so that's why. It's not only because, so.
Yeah, but I think that if we had somebody who could actually work, with Kim and really get us set and actually go back and look at all of our books for the past few years and get us the supplemental budgets we need, then when we do this audit, we'll be up to date and it should be, up to a point where we're feeling really satisfied that we've done everything we're supposed to do.
So
As opposed to just having us audited.
yeah, but the main of that reason is to find what happened with the money
Yeah.
and how was approved with the money. Cause
Don't
that's
you
the
think that a
problem.
CPA would help us do that?
No, because as today, I don't know who buy the land. I'm
Oh.
part of the town
Oh,
and
who
that,
by the land?
yeah, because that was related, those 300,000 when Warren mentioned the other day. That they never went to the right proceeds and everything, so that's why you committed
Right, so
some
the,
kind of,
there was no supplemental budget.
no, 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 no. The why it was proceed to buy the land, who proved that to buy the land, only the board. It was not open to
Oh,
the,
right.
so that's why he was requesting that kind of thing to find out what happened on that one, so.
So that's like a request from the community.
For, yes, that was Warren pointed out
Okay.
a lot. If you guys can talk to him a lot and clarify that one, because that's my understanding, but I can be wrong.
Well, I think
It's
we
the
went,
difference between what the mayor's saying and what Warren's saying, what the mayor's talking about is strictly financial.
I understand, but I point the reason we had that one, it
so
was,
we went through the
different.
proper channels to buy the land. It didn't have to go to a vote of the people to get that land. It was, we.
but I would like to have that auditoria anyway happen.
What I think that Warren is concerned about is that we never had a supplemental budget for the land.
No, I don't think so.
Well, I
Talk to
know-
him, ask to him, and I can ask to him and can give me the.
I'm planning
complaint
on
he has.
sitting down with Warren and actually going through all of this stuff.
No, I know, but it's in the meetings, he mentioned last meeting I was here, so that's why I mentioned it too.
So we'll deal with stuff on Monday having to do with the treasurer and treasurer report.
Okay, I will reach out though to Miriam.
Awesome,
Miriam.
that's great, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Nope. Is there anything else?
No, okay,
One thing was that the Craig's, SLB Council of Governments, they're gonna have that new member
Wednesday.
orientation on Wednesday. And I think you meant like 2 days from
Would you like to
now.
go?
I'm working with Abe at the end of this week. Electric
Oh.
stuff, we're wiring a house over and
Okay.
so,
But
and
any-
that's like my job, that pays me, so.
So this is something that is coming up this week that we won't be able to talk about on next Monday's meeting. Would you like to go
To the
to this,
training, yeah,
training? It's a orientation.
yes,
Okay.
I'll call
let me
it, we
get
can
him the
train.
information.
I wrote down the details for it, Armando.
yeah, definitely.
She's gonna send out details.
Okay,
Mhm,
perfect.
Yeah.
I don't have those details, if you have those.
I have them.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay,
I
yeah,
just have his part.
It's gonna be Wednesday, 4:10 at the depot in Alamosa from 9 to 2.
you can do that?
I think, I'm checking, I'll be back.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
It'd be great, cause I don't feel like I want to be a representative for that only because
Oh, so you're not going?
I'm not gonna go, I can't go.
Okay,
It would be you'd be the representative for that.
it'd be for only one time, or you wanna be for?
Well, you just get the orientation and fun.
I would be, I mean, if it was a different day, I'd be happy to go with you, I just can't do it
Okay, let me
Wednesday,
go
but
confirm.
if you go check it out and like, if it's okay in the future for other people to come, then I'd be
Yeah.
happy to go with
Okay,
you.
cool.
It's what
With a little
Karina's
more
done
notice.
forever.
No, I would like to be
Yeah.
part of, I need more information, I need more,
Yeah.
yeah, so definitely, yeah.
And
I
it would
will-
tap you into all the other, governments that are around.
It
Perfect.
sounds super cool.
Yeah.
I mean, and I really like
And
what
we,
Craig had to say.
I normally we record the whole meeting and I will share with you guys too. so.
Sweet.
But I will confirm it to you as I go.
So everything else is for Monday, the 15th. We're gonna have a pretty good sized meeting, so be prepared for that. Thank you guys for letting me serve this position. I know it's,
Thank you for taking it.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. I really wanna get this town back in order and feel like we're now caught up, cause there's just so much backlog right now.
And I'd like to mention again, because I did it personally to you, that I'm with you and I support you. I was
Thank you.
not agree how things happened in the morning, but it was not about your person, the way you proceed, but I'm with you, so.
Good. I really hope that we can strive continuously for
I
consensus.
think,
Consensus as much as we can.
Yeah.
I don't really like the 4-3 splits. I don't like the,
no,
that is something that we really need to make sure we're striving for. It's
I also
consensus.
appreciate you guys, everybody
You too.
extending
no, and telling
the
you things
trust.
that you think. I feel that you bring something new to the board and experience, and I think we're going to move forward.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it.
Me
Yeah,
too,
totally.
We're looking for the same goal, I
Yes,
think.
ma'am.
Take a motion.
Yes. I want to make a motion to adjourn.
I think it- I see.
Who motioned?
Benji motion?
No, I didn't motion.
Oh, I motion to adjourn.
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
I,
Good night, Seth.
okay, so do I take this binder home with me?
No, leave it with me, because I need to update it for the next meeting. The binders will be ready on Friday.
Okay.
File everything, like all the stuff that goes in our binder, the packets. That is kept for some sort of.
Oh, good.
Binders are ready on Friday,
So
so
Friday by noon, I will send an email when they are in the hallway though.
okay.
If we remember stuff, then we can go back and actually.
Yeah.
Thank you, Danny.
Wait, one second.
Hang on, guys, hang on, we got campaign finance.
These are the last two that you have to fill out. This one's due on May 7th, so you don't need it right now, but. And if you want to take it home and fill it out.
I will, and I'll drop it off tomorrow or something.
And I have it for you too. I just need this one as soon as possible, and this is not due until May 7th.
Basically,
Okay,
it's-
you can give us-
No, perfect.
And then Dana.
Yo,
I assume I'm still spent no.
I spent nothing. I just need to sign this.
It's the best way to go.
So if we didn't spend nothing,
You still have to fill it out.
I still have.
This is a zero expenditure.
Okay, and have to be, notarized? No.
No.
Okay.
Night, everyone.
Good night. Dennis.
One thing, being thinking about it is to have our timing for conversations, 3 minutes, so. That's why I refer early that we was wasting our time, not to the conversation, to the phone. Sometimes I don't use the right word for what I want to mean, but it's just we go so much.
I know we do, and it's gonna be a hard habit to sort of,
Yeah.
came in, and
I do.
one of the things that would help us though, is if we can get a lot of
Oh,
stuff
great.
done in
Oh, thank
committee,
you.
Armando.
Yes,
If we can get a lot of stuff done in our committees and sum it up,
yes,
it'll help a lot, because then we don't have to discuss as much.
exactly,
So
yeah.
that's why, like, even in the event committee, I wanna just have like
solid.
Allison is the chair, yeah, just like one report, make it really easy, everybody can read it, just like Kim was saying.
Should I date this as today?
No. No, isn't it already dated?
Oh, the second page?
Oh, sure.
Okay,
Why am I doing all three? They're all three?
There is, because there's 3 reporting periods.
Oh, okay.
oh, I see, gotcha.
So that last one's not due till May 7th, but if you wanna give it to me now.
I do.
Because you're still not sending it
Yeah.
to me, that's all that's.
I mean, one thing I definitely noticed this morning was like all the time spent talking about like revising the agenda. Is there, and maybe this is like a full conversation, but like if
Does-
Ariel's got our folders ready for us before the meeting, could we like revise do we have to revise the agenda together? Is that like part of
It
it?
has to be voted
It
on.
has to be voted, okay, so we can't like revise it in
As we go.
an email and then like resubmit it before the meeting even starts?
What you can
No,
do is,
and then also I don't work past, I only have 36 hours a week.
Okay,
So me coming in on Friday is always like additional time.
okay, gotcha. Okay, that's fine. I just wondered, yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you should I'll have it in here, ready to go. Like you could have your markings ready and then you come in and be like, hey, I want to table this, that.
Okay,
by the way, do we
right,
get our,
try to just like get the agenda, get it, be efficient, make my own notes
Yeah.
and bring that in.
sales tax? Check. I didn't see it.
Sales tax check. I haven't seen that.
So,
All I see was conscious connection.
One thing that we've been doing every month is trying to track how much we're getting in, and it helps us, because there's already a chart, you can kind of find your.
I need a
Yeah.
Not just this little notebook.
No, yeah, I got this thing for you time. And this one today, one is the day today.
Yeah, the last one.
Kim's been
They-
monitoring the sales
Good.
tax.
Ariel said we could date that for today's date.
We need to know how much it is every month, because we wanna know what we're humans factoring, what that we, as many boards, we.
Then that should be in the report.
It should be in. Yes, I don't know if we can.
Do we have a binder of that I can?
We're gonna need.
The resource, trustee resource or whatever?
Yeah, you're gonna need that.
Yeah,
Yes, I will, let me work on getting that.
okay, cool. Yeah, I'll
Just saying,
say
it's
the,
foundational, it gives so much information.
yeah, it looks like I could kill a small dog with it.
Yeah.
I would like to have yours Friday as well
Okay,
with your binder.
okay, cool. And just, we'll just stay in touch about it.
So basically, yeah, all the rules, all of the,
Today, Kim, is Kim there inside, right? She's there, she gave it to, to Dennis.
Or even has things about.
This one.
Eating,
Okay.
Okay.
She's from Dennis.
And she said you have to share that with me. And she forgot. It's like.
Is that his liquor?
Yeah, liquor license.
Okay, look good. Cool.
Oh, I
Yeah,
yeah.
Smells so here.
Yeah, let me,
You need this for you.
a lot of stuff, I have mine, but this one is for them.
Oh, this one's for him.
Yeah,
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Let me switch.
I know, I saw.
She gave me one to me and she gave me one to him, yeah, and I have mine.
I didn't say.
No, yeah, I hit I messaged Anya and she's just trying to take a personal day, but I did tell her I took a bunch of notes in the chair with her.
Thank you so much, Ariel, you're doing a great job.
Yes.
I hope that you're okay with being, interim clerk. That'll change.
I gotta roll you guys.
Okay, okay, be safe on that.
You too. I'll see y'all later.
Yes.
I know, I know.
It helps in untie my hands for sure, cause I wasn't sure about
Good,
if I should be issuing things.
yeah, now you're,
So maybe that's not.
is that turned off, is this muted? Can you turn off the, volume on?
Yes.